You gonna buy anything cool? Like, is there anything like, oh, now I'm just gonna like get something just commemorate this week?
No, we'll take our son to Target, and we'll probably buy him a sweet dinosaur, and then
Let's go.
I don't know.
Say, dude, you can't let him see that. Like, you can't let him find out what this means. That
The
dad
dinosaur
played
barrel
well.
just
there's
like
no
through the
concept
roof.
of that yet. Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
all right.
But
He comes in, he's like,
yeah,
Dad.
we'll see.
He's like, Dad, I've been crunching the numbers, and we
Yeah.
can go down both aisles this week
Yeah,
because
we can. Yeah,
I'm
we can afford a
cleaning that
T-Rex
place out.
and a Carnotaurus.
Foreplay brought to you by Barstool Sports, presented by our very good friends at Chevrolet. EVs for everyone everywhere. Been a hell of a 2 or 3 weeks for the fellas. It's been a lot of travel. We've been all over the goddamn country, filming stuff, recording stuff, going to events, going to parties, doing the Phoenix Open, doing the Super Bowl, doing the Dozen Live show, and now bang, we're just right back into it with Tiger fucking Woods is playing golf this week. We got Nick Taylor, who's going to join the show in about an hour. He finished second. We got much to get to from the Netflix documentary. The first episode is out. Barstool Sportsbook. I'm red hot. Kirk for the cut missed by a stroke. People were going nuts. I had one guy DMing me that I'm some kind of idiotic fuck for thinking that Tommy Fleetwood, who's like never played the event before, was going to make the cut, even though he only missed it by one. And I didn't even pick Tommy Fleetwood. I picked Max Homa. So there's a lot going on right now. Everybody's back home except Dan, I believe, is out waiting for Eldrick Taunt Woods to appear. Is that right?
Yeah, but I'm also kind of home because this is LA. It's where I grew up. So I'm staying at my parents' house this weekend. So, half home. But yes, everyone's on Tiger Watch. It was so funny. Like when we found out, I think it was in the middle of the round on Friday, found out that he was playing, and we started telling guys afterwards. They were like, oh, Tiger's playing next week. And to a person, they were like, that's awesome news. Like in the most genuinely happy way. It's cool to see how pumped they are when Tiger's teeing it up.
I'd say it's a bit of a stunner. When we heard the news, we talked about it last week, chances of him playing, and I was pretty down on it. I think a lot of people were down on it. Hasn't played a competitive round of golf, really since the Open, and that's been a while since then. So, I think we all thought he was just going to take this week off, be the host, be a presence, but not be a participant. But I'll tell you what, I am over the moon that Tiger Woods is going to be playing competitive golf on the PGA Tour this week.
Yeah, I thought it was fucking shocking. I mean, when I saw that tweet came across my desk, I did a double take. I was making sure it's not one of those trick accounts. We got the PGA Tour account that always tries to fuck with people. I thought maybe it was one of those that was doing something because it was just a tweet from Tiger Woods being like, I'm pumped to play in a PGA Tour event. It's like, what? He's playing a PGA Tour event. So the whole thing, the fact that, we said at the beginning of the year, or maybe in the wintertime, we were trying to kill a little bit of time, get through some of those episodes. Like, is Tiger Woods going to play in 4 events all year? Is he going to play in 5? Is he going to play in 6? Well, I would say now this makes it pretty goddamn likely that he's going to play in at least 6 events. You got to think Genesis, Players Championship, and then the 4 majors. I mean, it's very exciting that Tiger Woods is playing this week, and I think it's completely shocking that he's playing.
What did you think? What did you guys think of the actual tweet itself when he put the word "actual" in all capital? Because I think I was with Frankie when this news broke, and we were kind of going back and forth about, is that a shot at Liv, or is he saying that he hasn't played in an actual PGA Tour event since the Zozo in 2020, if I'm not mistaken? Like, what was he saying with the announcement tweet?
Yeah, a little bit of inside info here.
I thought that it was heavy. Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
Never mind.
Internet's a little slow here. I'm like, there's a little delay, so you go ahead.
We can't see you either right now. I don't know why. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I was just going to say, I thought it was heavy. I thought there was a lot to it. I thought that it was for sure more to it. I think Dan just has inside information on it, so I don't know that my opinion on this matters.
Let's hear it anyway.
Know the answer.
I want to hear it anyway.
I thought it was a shot at Liv for sure. Like, I thought that it's saying like it's an actual tournament. Everything else is kind of fake to him. He's always felt like the PGA Tour is the pinnacle of the sport. And then that's what you should strive for in the history and all of the, everything that comes with being on the PGA Tour. Tiger Woods that's what makes his being. So I think being able to announce that he's coming back to a tour event as opposed to just like you're saying, it's only been the majors recently. I think he's very happy about this. And he's letting people know that even with, in my opinion, again, all of this just means nothing until Dan speaks. But in my opinion, it's also a weird dynamic we have on this podcast where like we can give opinions, but Dan just knows the answers right after we give them. So, all of this just means nothing until he talks.
Before we get the actual info, I want to also say that it would appear that Tiger's Twitter account is where he gets the sauciest. Like,
for sure.
When the Mickelson thing with the PIP, I forget exactly what he said, but when Phil was like, I won, and then Tiger won, he came back at him. And then also, there's a bit of a video game war going on where, there's PGA Tour 2K23 that we love, and we're in the game, and we were showed our characters during the Waste Management, which we can talk about.
Unbelievable.
And then there's the other game that I won. The other game put out a trailer a few months ago, and Tiger tweeted from his account being like, I don't know about all this other stuff, but I'm a 2K guy. And those are things that he doesn't normally say. And I know we've had a lot of debates on this podcast about who actually runs these Twitter accounts for these professional athletes. Tom Brady's a good example. Tiger's another one. And Tiger does tweet out a lot of TGR and TGL stuff about charity and this new league that he's starting up. But every once in a while, there's a tweet that I think comes directly from him. And I think the announcement for Riviera was one of them.
Right before we get into the facts, I want to let you guys know that there is another video game coming out. We are 2K guys until we die. The other game's EA. We don't have to hide that there's another company out there that makes video games.
I was hiding it a little bit.
They are coming out, and we have a resident nerd, Alex Bush, our producer, on this podcast. And when I told him that I read that the EA game was only going to be in 30 frames per second for console, he was like, "What is this? Fucking 1998?" I mean, they're not. When someone that plays video games hears that they only put enough money and power into the game to produce a 30 frames per second video game for sports.
It's not enough frames.
Alex, what are you pushing out on your PC?
Give us some context.
How many frames are you pushing?
Depends on the game, but on PC you can get up to on the one that I have, you can get up to 200 plus. Most Xbox games lower end get 60.
Oh. Right, and your expertise, a game coming out in the year 2023 and 30 frames per second is laughable.
Should not have 30. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just wanted to put that out there. Our video game characters are coming out in the near future. I think within the coming weeks, we are going to be in the video game. And when I tell you that we are so in this video game, it's actually the craziest thing that's ever happened to us. And I know that we always say that and we exaggerate, and everything that happens to us can't be the craziest thing. When I saw our characters spinning around in the player selection area where you can go down, it says you have to pass Tiger Woods, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau, and then it's Frankie Borelli, and you can click on it and then my body pops up and I move around and I kind of smile and I wave the fucking club at you. That is something that I didn't anticipate happening when I was leaving the pizzeria to come here. That's something I did not anticipate happening.
There's a clip in the promo video that they made to showcase our characters and the reactions and the facial expressions. And there's a clip of the three of us just walking down the fairway, shooting the shit together. That it looked more real than our YouTube videos.
Yeah.
It's extremely cool. I hope that it's in the hundreds of frames per second. That you.
I'm not sure. I know it's not 30. I know it's not 30.
Got to be higher than 30. I would guess. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I very much agree with all of you that the Tiger Woods spiciness seems to come through his Twitter account, which makes sense. I feel like Twitter is where you can get the spiciest, unless you're creating memes. I don't really know how spicy you're going to get. It'd be great if he started a meme account where Tiger was just putting out, memes on his Instagram. But yeah, I agree. It was a shot at Liv. I don't know what to expect. I mean, there's a chance that he's sort of just as long as I'm not going to die, I'm going to play in this because it means so much to him to try to get the event, in the spotlight. It's his event. It raises money for his foundation. He has clearly tried to make it in the last several years, get it up to the point of the Arnold Palmer Invitational and the Memorial with Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and Tiger Woods doing his own thing. So clearly he wants to promote the fuck out of this event, and him playing in it is going to be the best way to do that. Riviera, Dan, he's not historically played great at Riviera. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's the course he's played the most times without winning. I think it's either 14 or 15 times he's played and has never won. He's finished second. He's finished in the top 10 3 times, which is funny because for most people, they'll be like, oh, he's got 4 top 10s and 15 starts at Riviera. Tiger Woods what the fuck? You can't figure out Riviera?
I know.
Can we get to the facts? I think people have been waiting for the inside information.
No, you're actually right. So Tiger's social media person who's been running his social media is this woman named Christy, who's married to Bud Cauley. She's been out on maternity leave. So I think this is a little bit of like Tiger after dark. You guys were talking about him like kind of firing off and going a little bit more rogue. I definitely think there's been a little bit more voice in these because, Christy's not at the wheel right now.
Wow.
Yeah, I thought he was going to play.
Let's get Christy on maternity leave more up. Let's. But get to work, pal. Let's keep her. Tiger's got his hands on the sticks. That's great.
Yeah, I thought he was going to play. Someone told me on Thursday afternoon a player who would know, who's kind of boys with Tiger. He's like, I think he's going to play. Don't say anything, but I think he's going to play. And so I tweeted something in the morning being like, yeah, I think, he wants to play. I don't know if it's going to. And then boom, 5 minutes later, he tweets that he's going to play. So just a really, really hot couple weeks for golf. Last week, Waste Management was electric. We got Tiger this week. We got the Netflix show debuting. It's like, you usually not really until the players that things kind of pick up. But it feels like this season's off to a really hot start.
Really hot start. And we got Tiger Woods. So my week's obviously going to be consumed with following Tiger. We haven't seen him since he was crying walking across the Swilken Bridge up his 36th hole of the tournament. So it's nuts to now think it's been that long, which is what, July that was? It's been that long. He didn't play the Hero because of the plantar fasciitis thing. Now here he is playing. He's most likely, I would say, going to play this month. He's going to play once next month, and then he's probably going to play the Masters. Would you think that's probably right?
Yeah, I think this tournament's a higher priority for him than the Players, to be honest with you. I wouldn't be surprised if he skips the Players Championship. Again, his event, it's a dead flat golf course, apart from the walk down on 1, the walk up 18. I definitely think he's playing the Masters. That's his plan. Obviously, he wouldn't be playing this if he didn't feel like it was going to put his Masters in jeopardy. But again, I just think he doesn't know. I think it's his body is in such a position where he could wake up one day and be like, oh, here's a new thing. It's just nothing is a guarantee, which I think is why players like Max Homa and like John Rahm and like Jason Day are just like so happy and appreciative when he's playing, because you just don't know when they're going to happen. He did play in the PNC, and I was doing a little research this morning. Bones Mackay, who obviously caddies for Justin Thomas and was playing in the same group with Tiger and Charlie that day. He goes, I couldn't believe how impressed I was with Tiger. I was thinking to myself, that's what he said. I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, it's a Ryder Cup year. So that's how good Bones thought he looked. Again, it's obviously different. It's a dead flat golf course. They're in carts. It's a hit and giggle. There's no rough.
Don't tease me like this. I
just
went through a whole he never plays well at Riviera thing. If he's gets through 36 holes, maybe 72, that'd be amazing. And now he's going to be making the Ryder Cup team? I mean, that's
I agree. I think making the cut and not expiring over the weekend like he did at the Masters and at the PGA Championship would be a huge success. But if he shot 2 under on Thursday, would you really be that surprised?
No.
No. Have we gotten past the point, and I know we've had all these debates as Tiger has made his return back to golf for the past couple of years, but I remember we used to debate on do you want to see him just play tournaments or to play the tournaments that he can win? Have we gotten to the point where now we're just okay watching him play golf and accept the fact that the result doesn't matter anymore? Have we gotten to that level of Tiger fandom yet? I have not. I don't want him just joining tournaments that he doesn't think he can dominate. Maybe in a couple of years, I'll be I just want to see him on the screen. But I've been keeping a little bit of hope each time he lets one go by. As he skips a tournament, it's oh, he didn't think he could win that one. You know what I mean? And then when he comes back, it's that feeling of when we tee this ball up at Augusta National, victory is the only option for him. That's the only reason he's doing it. If we start doing these oh, it's my tournament, I'm going to start playing in it, and I don't really care. That's where I think we lose Tiger Woods and who he is. And I never thought he'd do that.
I don't know if it's as cut and dry as that. I think I get excited every time he's going to play, and I look at each time as an opportunity that he could win. I don't know if I'm necessarily looking at each tournament when he signs up, I'm well, then he thinks he can win. I just don't know. At a certain point, you have to phase out of that. I don't want to. I never wanted to. But you just got to look at the writing on the wall and say, this is where we're at. This is how old he is. This is what his body's like. This is how many times a year he's playing. Now, like I said, I do think every time he plays, I view it as an opportunity where he can win. And I think he probably feels that way too. But the days of, he's letting that one go by because he doesn't think he can win that one. But when he signs up for one, that means he definitely has it in his mind that he can win. I don't necessarily view it that way anymore. Now I can't speak for him, but that's how I view it.
Yeah, I agree. I think what's tricky is we went from pretty much every tournament he played in, he went into thinking there's no way I don't win this week. And if he doesn't win, he was rattled and he would be throwing clubs and he afterwards would be like, okay, we got to tighten a couple things up. I cannot believe I didn't win. I think he's gone from the phase of believing he's going to win every single time he tees it up to I still think every tournament he's ever played in, he thinks he can win. And it makes me think of Phil Mickelson at the PGA a couple of years ago. Like, I don't think Phil went into that tournament thinking like, I should win this week, but I guarantee a part of him clearly thought and always has thought like, yeah, I got a shot. I can win. And I think Tiger's probably in that part. Like Dan gets highlighted right away in the first minute of the first episode of Full Swing when he asked Tiger at Augusta, like, do you think you can win this week? And he just goes, I do. or I can. And it's like, fuck yeah. So I still think he genuinely has that belief, but I do think it's dwindled from like, oh, I firmly believe I'm going to win this week and I should, to like, yeah, there's a chance I could win.
This he can hit the shots still. That's why we have that confidence. He can hit the shots. During the Waste Management this week, which we'll get into, I watched Jon Rahm at one point on Sunday. He pulled the ball left and then took like a very, very conservative chip out to the middle of the fairway. And like the announcers were kind of like, oh, that was kind of weird. Like I thought like maybe he'd go through the sand and like go into that first bunker. And it reminded me of a hole that like Tiger would play now where like he didn't hit a good drive. He chipped it out. And then that next shot was on the stick. Darn. I actually watched Jon Rahm do that thinking that when Tiger does come back, that's the kind of Tiger we're going to see. It might not be like the tap ins for birdies, but he's still going to hit those like wedge shots that are going to be like, we have a par putt right now, and if we make it, we're staying in the mix. Staying in the mix, Tiger is like our new Tiger. And unfortunately, that's just what we have to deal with, I think. And maybe staying in the mix, Tiger can rattle off a fucking win. Because when you're in the mix, you can win. That's a fact.
You guys is gonna fire you up. I want to see your live reactions to this.
Okay, I have my hand on my cock.
Getting a little intel that Tiger Woods is currently at Los Angeles Country Club doing a scouting trip for the United States Open Championship.
This is what we're talking about.
He ain't missing the U.S. Open this week. He ain't missing the U.S. Open this year.
Heavy unbelievable. Ready to rock.
Kidding me?
Are you fucking kidding me?
What the
guy?
Fuck, man.
He's double dipping the chip this week. He's going to win in Riviera.
He's doing
and he's
scouting
for
reports?
the Open.
Yeah,
Jesus,
I don't think he's playing, but he's right. Him and Rob are riding around LACC. They've changed the course a lot for the U.S. Open. So yeah, he's he means business. It seems like
even better. It's not even a leisurely fun. It's a business trip. He's going there just to look at the course. I'm going to play it.
What a guy, dude! What a
that's just so
guy.
Exciting. That's very exciting.
He is him. That's what the kids say.
Yep, we get to just watch Tiger Woods this week. I can't. I'm like almost on a U.S. Open level course. Don't they have a PGA or U.S. Open coming there in the next decade? They announced, didn't they?
I don't know if they announced it, but there's some significant chatter that there. I know the course is at least in discussions to host the 2031 U.S. Open.
There's also a wrinkle to this podcast where Danny will say a couple things to us, and then it's on us for like it happened with the Masters credential. He told us that, and it's very awesome in the group chat. We were fucking fired up, and then the next podcast we announced it. So it's funny watching the rumblings that we get from Dan, and then we just announce it on the show, and Dan then has to be like, there might be some talk about that. It's an incredible dynamic.
All right. We got, like we mentioned, we got a lot to get into from the Phoenix Open, being out in Scottsdale the whole time. Talk about Chevy real quick and the EVs. I'm seeing Chevys. It's you really can't help it. Once Chevy becomes on your mind, you get that bow tie, you get the Bolt EV. We got to see some Silverado EV action, and we were involved in something incredibly cool that's going to be coming out. And it's really, you can't grasp how cool technology is until you fully see some of these electric vehicles from Chevy and that new technology wrapped into the old school, prominent brands and lines that Chevy's been delivering forever. And then when you see it and you see all the talk of the electricity being fully electric, cars running on battery, not having to worry about gas and the emissions and all the deal. And then you see it again wrapped into something like a Silverado or a Blazer or a Bolt. It's incredibly cool to just realize that we are in the future.
Dude, if you don't believe us, believe Will Ferrell. I was watching the Super Bowl last night, and he got into a Chevy EV Blazer. It's like, again, like if you don't believe the Foreplay crew, do you like Will Ferrell? Do you think he knows what he's talking about? Yeah, he does. I was stunned. I was like, we're in the same thing that Will Ferrell is. So everybody is pumping this EV, and it's right. It's the future. That's what it's going to be. There's charging stations all over the place. This is the future.
Over 2,000 certified EV dealerships, plus, like Trent Ryan just mentioned, a growing network of public charging stations. Chevy is here to help you live electric. Speaking about the future, we got some UFOs to talk about. I forgot to mention that in the quick rundown at the beginning. So we'll get into UFOs, but we're getting closer to UFOs with all this incredible technology that they're pumping into Chevys. Chevy EVs for everyone everywhere. You don't have to be rich to have an EV. They got an established full line brand like Chevrolet, offer multiple EV vehicles with the volume, variety, and the value customers all over this planet have come to expect. Go check out their website. Go build out some EVs, Equinox, Silverado, Bolt to Blazer. Check them out. EVs for everyone everywhere from our good friends at Chevy. Scottie Scheffler, speaking of Chevy, suburban guy.
God.
Scottie Scheffler, he's number one in the world. He won back-to-back years at the Phoenix Open. He won $3.6 million. He didn't have his best stuff, which is a little bit Tiger-esque of just not really having your best. He was pulling the ball a lot, I feel like, was kind of his miss, but rolling the rock beautifully. He had a huge par save on 16. Made that big eagle on whatever that is, 13 or so on the back nine. So he just he brings it. He can roll that rock when he does, when he gets out. It reminds me a lot of that stretch. Obviously, last year when he won like 4 out of 6 tournaments, got to number one. One of those tournaments included the Masters. I remember because, the match play, which we'll have to talk about the future of that too, but the match play, it was him against Kiz in the final. And you don't always get to see every single shot, even the leaders. In that format, you're forced to watch every single shot. And I remember how beautifully he was just rolling the rock then. And you were like, well, he's hitting the ball 50 yards past Kiz, and he's rolling the rock like Kiz or better than Kiz. Of course, he's going to win. And obviously, he won. Reminded me of that a little bit yesterday, just watching him, where he's just got that beautiful tempo. His pace and speed is perfect. It makes the hole bigger when you do that. And then he's got the finish. It looks like every shot he hits, he shanked it basically because he's slipping all over the place. And yet he goes out and he shoots 19 under, I believe, and wins the tournament. So big shout out to a big friend of the program, Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, his pace was actually completely off on Sunday. I never really seen him putt like that, where he was blowing them by, and then the next hole he'd keep it short. But then every single comebacker was right in the middle of the hole.
It's amazing.
I forgot what hole it was, where he opened the door just a little bit. It was like 14 or 15. He blew it by. And then you're like, oh, man, he's going to 3-putt this because he putted it off the green and it was on the fringe. And then he just drains like a 15-footer from off the green, dead center. If you're playing against that guy, you have no chance. Even if you're John Rahm, like you're one of the best players ever, like right now of this generation, you still have no chance against Scottie. He's that nails when it comes down to the finishing. He's proving it every single time he wins.
Yeah. The putt again on 16 is like, that's just, to me, one of those, and forever it just reminded me, like, what was the hole where it was that par 5 in the Dell match play last year where Scottie like hit one right and then he like flubbed a chip and it's looking like Kiz is going to win the hole, and then he like holed out his chip or his bunker shot, and he was doing a lot of that, frankly, where you're like, oh, this guy's he's giving him an opening, he's starting to stumble a little bit, and then he just buries it. He has like that Spieth to him a little bit now, it seems like, where it's like, even though he seems like he's coming off the tracks, like bang, he makes something that actually somehow that disaster of a 5 minutes built momentum for him. And you're like, how the fuck is that possible?
He didn't hit a fairway for the first, 8 holes?
So he hit 5 fairways all day.
Wow.
He shot 66. He hit 5 fairways the day before, shot 68. The Spieth comparison is one that I found myself making this weekend also, Riggs, where it's just like the guy's just got a scoring gene, man. He's just able to get the ball into the hole. And like he's like Spieth in that way, but he also hits it miles and drives it really, really straight. Again, it's no surprise. He was the number 1 player last year, player of the year, off to a little bit of a slower start this year. But yeah, it just felt like, every time he was off balance, or every time he was in trouble, he found his way out of it, and he got breaks. He got a bunch of really lucky breaks. You need breaks to win. 13, he hits one right, it bounces back into the fairway. 14, he pull hooks one into the sand, he finds an open shot. 15, same thing, goes right, bounces back in the fairway. 16, he gets to place it because his drop was in a really bad lie. It was a really bad lie, and then he just placed it into a good lie. So but you got to take advantage of those mistakes, of those breaks rather, and he did, and he's back to world number one. It's funny, we've been talking, is it Rory, is it John Rahm, and Scottie's like, hey, I'm here, don't forget about me.
Yeah, man, dude, I saw him on Saturday. I was on the putting green, and I just saw him. He kind of gave me a little look, a head nod, and then he was just, I looked at him like, man, that's the best golfer in the world. Like, you just remembered that his like swagger, and like he's just doesn't get nervous about anything. It looks like it's just a regular tournament to him. The way he's just kind of like goofy and just like walks, it's like his swagger is being like kind of like nerdy and like laughing and giggling with Ted, and like it's very look like if you're his opponent, you're like, why does this guy not give a fuck? You know what I mean? You're like, why does this guy not give a fuck right now? Like, why is he just?
I think it's really tough to play against, especially if you're someone like Rahm, who's
the Masters, he's putting
so
on a
intense
vest and shit. It's like, what are you doing, dude?
And
He's
you
a
can
little
trust that with
goofy.
Rahm. Yeah, Rahm is like so intense and living and dying with every shot. And for some guys, that would definitely throw them off. But Scottie just couldn't be less bothered about anything.
Every time he sees Frankie, he just laughs. He just starts laughing.
So I was with our buddy Brian Axelrod. He was in there with me, like kind of on the side, and he looked at me. He goes, "That guy just like laughed at you." I'm like, "Yeah, that's Scottie Scheffler." He doesn't really know much about. He's like, "That guy just like laughed at you." I'm like, "That's Scottie Scheffler." He just laughs every time he looks at me. I don't know what it is.
He does
maybe,
laugh.
Maybe it's the progression of my fat face. He's like, "Man, Frankie's just losing it right now," and every time I see him, he's getting fatter and fatter. But he just laughs. It's very, very funny.
He's like, man, I hope they make his 2K character as fat as his face looks right now.
Oh man, it's so.
He is
funny.
goofy. He is a goofy guy, and what I love too is that dichotomy of he does come off that way. He's goofy. He's got the laugh, and he's looking at you and giggling. Yet he said like he was crying the morning of the Masters because the moment's so big for him. So I think that probably helps him. Of like it does ground him. He's able to accept things, and I think there's probably an element of when you have that scoring gene, that scoring touch, that Spiethness. Tiger obviously had it. Phil had it. Like, you're never really that out of it. It's like even when you're hitting it left, hitting it right, you're like, we'll kind of get the ball in the hole here because that's just what you do every time. And he carries that demeanor about him. And it is like, if you were doing the ESPN, like probability to win a hole, it's like off the tee, he's like losing. And then off the second shot, he's kind of losing. And then it's way down here. And by the end of it, he like gained half a stroke on this hole and that, over the time because he just kind of figures it out. And he was doing that a lot. It was fun to watch. It's kind of inspiring to watch that when somebody's hitting it all over the place and posting, 19 under and winning the tournament on a course that was playing very difficult. It felt like this week. It's very much like something that Max Homa told me, I think last year, a couple of years ago, when he was going into, I think it was the final round at Riviera. And he said he got a text from Justin Thomas that was like, dude, you don't have to play perfect golf to win. And it was because there's this belief with the PGA Tour is so deep and everybody's so good out there. Everybody plays so well. They're like, in order to beat all these guys, I got to play perfect golf. And it's like, no, you really don't have to play perfect golf at all. And Scottie showed that a lot. So shout out to, again, a big friend of the program, Scottie Scheffler.
His chipping it's unbelievable. It's one of those things that other pros talk about. I know Tiger's a big, I don't remember who was telling me this, but Tiger's a big admirer of Scottie's chipping because look, you don't win the Masters without being really good around the green. And Scottie has that unique ability to hit cut chips and draw chips. And he's got the full arsenal like Spieth does. So it's, I think people think of him as a bomber because he's a big dude, but that's what I like most about watching him is just how creative he is around the greens.
Totally.
He does it. He just gets it. He just gets it done. He gets it in the hole. So fantastic week. The Phoenix Open delivers. We talked about it so much leading up to it. And it brought,
it's a major when you're there. It's a
major.
It is. Like when you're walking around. I don't know how anyone doesn't consider that. Like, I haven't been to a Players before, so I'm hoping when we do go there that it has the same juice. I don't know how anything can have the same juice as that. Like, you have
so one of one, dude. Like,
it doesn't have the same.
Imagine
juice.
Another golf tournament where people show up at 5 a.m. and are sprinting to a hole. Like, I understand that the reason or part of the reason for that is because people want to get shit-faced all day and have a good time, but that's not a knock on that tournament. That they've just made it where it's fun and people want to go there and it's a party, and 16 is this raucous event. There's no other golf event that has that. None of them. They all have different things. The Masters has what it has. The majors have what they have. The Players is the Players. But what the Waste Management has is its own thing. And I don't think you can recreate that at any other event.
Here's where I'm going. If I'm a PGA Tour player, I want to win a Masters, US Open, Open Championship, and then I want to win the Waste Management.
Oh
that's
my God.
That's being
Don't
mean to
let
the
the
PGA.
PGA of
That's
America
just being
see
real
that.
mean to the PGA Championship.
I'm sorry. That's just where I am right now. You're at that event. You can't believe how cool it is. Imagine winning that thing. The crowds were going fucking crazy. And that's no dig at the PGA of America. Like, they have a major. They're fucking historical. We go to all the PGAs. It might be a slight dig, but like, it is like, it's just because the PGA Tour event is that much better. The Waste Management is that cool. It really is. You can't.
Well, the fact that it's a
replicate it.
designated event now is it really is. There's not many things that you can knock it on. Like, it used to be, guys don't want to go there because they're like, oh, maybe I don't thrive in that environment. Now you have to play in that event, and it makes the fields insane.
At some level, it is about the crowd and the energy, right? That's what makes something
That's all it's
bigger,
about.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you played a major and there were 0 fans, they just weren't allowed, and then you had the Phoenix Open, like everyone, that event would eventually just evolve into like, we just care more about the Phoenix Open.
Right.
So to Frankie's point, there's somewhere in between there where like you just be like, okay, if all the fans care about this more and we make more money and the event is bigger and grander and there's more stuff involved, like, then this is just
Big.
really
big. Well, the only
This is the
difference
biggest
is but it eventually becomes a legacy conversation
Right.
where
Yeah.
Justin Thomas is like, I'm a 2-time major, and it'd be great to win the Waste Management, but I've won 2 PGAs, and at the end of this whole thing, those are going to count more than making a birdie on 16. I get what you guys are saying, and I agree with you, but you almost need it to. It's always just going to be a designated event, which is huge, but it's never going to be in the conversation when you're talking about your career.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still putting it 4th on my list. I'm not like raising it above majors. I do agree majors are
I didn't
there.
know how aggressive
Except for
you were
one
gonna
major.
get. I thought you might go like Masters, Phoenix Open. And I was
No. You have to win the US Open's way. Well, the US Open is the same thing with fucking just all the history and all the legacy.
It is certainly in the conversation with the players, though. That's an interesting conversation because
Yeah.
the players doesn't
way
have
above.
the designation of a major, obviously. So now you're just talking about which event is cooler to win, and those are pretty even at this point.
Netflix and the creators of Drive to Survive were inside the ropes for the entire 2022 professional golf season. Look, we talk about it a lot on this show. Dan is in that show. We're talking about Full Swing coming to you Netflix Wednesday night. You're going to be able to get all of the episodes. Watch Full Swing February 15th only on Netflix. The first episode's out now. I watched it. It's great. Yes, from our vantage point, it's very funny to go through some of the very mundane, sort of simple, elementary parts of golf and have those explained to you. But no matter who you are, if you're into golf at all, you're going to love this because it is layered. More information, more footage, more comments, more conversations that you'd never seen before, all packaged into the shit that happened last year on the PGA Tour. Full Swing, Dan's in it, February 15th, Netflix. I watched the first episode and I loved it.
It's a pretty
You
big
guys are
deal. Pretty big deal.
You guys are going to feel like you know these guys. And I think that's the main appeal of the show. You're going to feel like you know Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas and Tony Finau and Colin Morikawa. And just like you feel like you feel like connection with the Formula One drivers because you know them, you've seen their families, you've seen where they live. It's the same thing with golf. So let's fingers crossed this thing has the same effect in our sport that it did in F1.
You're on Netflix. That's like that's
awesome.
That's as big as it gets right now in our world. That's like
You're
being
on
on
Netflix.
it's like being on a Paramount movie in like the 1970s or something like that.
What'd you
This
think
is
about
it.
the first time you saw yourself? How'd that go?
It was good. I was selfishly hoping that they weren't gonna use me as one of the guys who's like, this is a par and this is a birdie, and they didn't. So that's a success.
Hell yeah, Dan. That's
It's going to be great. People are going to
set
love
against the backdrop of the struggle between the PGA Tour and the newly emerging Live Golf. This series follows. I love always reading the copy that they give us. This series follows a diverse group of players, including Rory McIlroy, Tony Finau, Dustin Johnson, and more. Witness players enduring a high-stakes season week in and week out on the PGA Tour, including all 4 of golf's major championships. They capitalized M and major, which I like. Full Swing provides unprecedented access to the rivalries, passions, and personalities that fuel professional golf. So check it out. Watch Full Swing February 15th only on Netflix.
What do you guys think about potentially finishing it on Saturday? And I know that it's such a big thing because of how many tickets they sell on Sunday, and most golf events, they are for TV. They schedule it for TV. This one's different because of how many people go and how much the in-person experience matters. But Riggs, you and I were talking about this. Sunday sort of feels like a come down. It's a bit of a hangover. The whole thing crescendos on Saturday, and then Sunday people just want it to be over for the Super Bowl. If Torrey Pines is going to go Wednesday to Sunday for the AFC and NFC championship games, shouldn't we do the same thing for the Super Bowl?
I just don't know because it's weird when they do that week. Like nobody knows what's going on when they do that for the Farmers. Like nobody know, right? Like we talked about that where people were like looking at their I was looking at my TV like, what the fuck's going on? This is the final round, third round. What is this? And so I think if you do that in an event where you don't really need to do it, right? Like I think that they must see data that they almost piggyback off the Super Bowl and lead up to it. And that clearly works. You get a few weird years where they had like 7-hole playoff with Ricky and Hideki, obviously. But it is a letdown. It is a letdown. Saturday is the day. And to finish it the next day to a degree of like the fan and the booze and the atmosphere and all the juice, it is a letdown. But I don't know if it's enough of a difference that they should actually do that. I just think you start that thing on Wednesday. That means they lose a whole day, which they're never going to do, right? All that Sunday of fans and tickets and all that. They get a lot of juice out of Wednesday already because they do the Pro-Am and they have all the celebrities and the shot of glory and the fans are packed. So like, I get it's a hypothetical, so we don't need to factor in all those things, but it's hard for me to ignore all those and just look at it as like they would never do that. So that's the only reason,
I weirdly think like the Super Bowl was in the same city this year. So I actually think when the Super Bowl is there, it should finish on a Sunday because it feels like everything is happening. Like, holy shit, we're going to the tournament. And then, the Super Bowls later, maybe you hit both. I don't know if people do that, but
Scottsdale was unbelievable this week.
Scottsdale was unbelievable. I almost think when the Super Bowl is in a different location, which is the majority of the time, then you do Wednesday to Saturday because the juice of Sunday being the Super Bowl and the Waste Management happening at the same time, I think is great. But I think when it's in LA or it's in Tampa, the Super Bowl, I think you could have the golf tournament finish on Saturday and it wouldn't be that much of a difference.
I think the timing doesn't matter though. The location doesn't matter when you're watching on TV, right? Like, I think that's only for people that are there.
Yeah. I'm saying the experience of it being for the people there on Sunday and the Super Bowl being in the same city, it feels cooler. And now you're talking about 50,000 people who
right. That's what I mean.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think Sunday is awesome. What the hell are you going to do on Super Bowl Sunday before the Super Bowl? Like it starts at 7:00 at night. Like,
watch
who gives
the
a fuck?
7 hours of
pregame coverage.
Of 10 guys sitting in a studio being like, I think the Eagles are going to win. No, I think the Chiefs are going to win.
Of Derek Jeter get announced to Fox and then completely ignore Alex Rodriguez every time he tried to get him to respond to him. So funny.
Is that what happened?
Oh my God, that relationship is going to be something to watch this year. I mean, A-Rod had a jersey for him, and Jeter just didn't even look his way. It's just unbelievable. I think Jeter saw that A-Rod was becoming liked again by being on the broadcast, and he's like, I'm just going to come there, and everyone's going to like me more now. It's just
it's funny because it's switched because Jeter had a kind of a rocky tenure, right, with the Marlins. So the recent press with Jeter wasn't so great. So their roles had kind of reversed.
It's funny watching all-time athletes deal with another all-time athlete sort of get more popular than them. It's Michael Jordan and LeBron is a great one. So the LeBron thing's been going crazy. He's been winning. He's, is he the greatest ever? Jordan puts out this 10-part documentary during the prime of this whole thing. And then when LeBron is about to pass Kareem's scoring record, February, 3rd comes up and they make it Michael Jordan Day and he's pumping it up. He's like, yeah, make it my, it's so funny watching the jockeying of positions between all-time athletes because they can say that they're friendly and it's great. I respect his career, but the guys who want to be the best will have that until it's over.
Well, in the as a Yankee fan, you always knew Jeter and A-Rod didn't really like each other. There was always the rumors and all that stuff. And even though they were best friends when he was on the Mariners, he was on the Rangers, Jeter and him were legit best friends. And in The Captain, in the documentary that was on this year, Jeter does say, he's like, like I didn't respect his move coming to my team. Like if I was the best shortstop in the league, why would I ever go to another shortstop's team and move to third base? I think Jeter went up to him one year during like a rain delay and was like, why did you come here? Like, thanks for coming here. We're going to win a World Series, but like, I don't respect that move.
Like, what are you doing? Yeah.
Like if you
respect how much he didn't respect it. That's great.
Right. Like you're the best shortstop, right? Like, why did you come here and play third? Like, are you a loser? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of the question he was asking him. Like, go. Like, I want to compete against you. Why are you here?
Like I think if you got a few tequila sodas and MJ, he'd be like, Miami was fucking. That was a coward's move. That's a coward's move to go.
Exactly.
You got to beat these guys. You got to play these guys.
That's what Jeter was saying.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And he's like, are you trying to take some limelight away from me? Fuck you.
Which I love. I mean, of course they're going to have that in them. That's their DNA, baby. We talked about that. We famously got like blacklisted by Jack Nicklaus's team because we said that, and we said a little further that like Jack's not going to be around to like if it's coming, if it comes down to the wire, Tiger might break Jack's record. I don't think he's going to stick around for that. I think he's going to be like, I'm not, So there's always that dynamic in every sport. Of course, there's that dynamic in every sport. How would there not be that dynamic? So
no,
yeah,
it's totally true.
I get it.
And now A-Rod's like, why are you coming to Fox? I have this thing over here.
It never ends. And
I have a thing going on over here. Why are you here?
Do you think Jeter will be good on TV?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fox has a few of those because now Brady's coming and Greg Olson is like killing it.
Greg Olson,
everyone
loves
loves
during
Greg
the
Olson.
Super Bowl last night. He's so good.
Greg Olson is great.
He was down the middle. You couldn't tell what team he liked or didn't like, and then he like genuinely gave good input at times that needed to come in. He wasn't Tony Romo like cumming his pants every single throw, and it wasn't like over. They let the game play out. It was a great game, and yeah, I thought Greg Olson was fantastic.
How about the grass situation? Not the best look for,
Dude, shout out
for us golf people.
The Sod Father, so the 94-year-old guy, they call him the Sod Father. He's been doing this grass shit for fucking 70 years. They literally call him the Sod Father, and he just somehow fucks up the Super Bowl. They spent 2 years and $800K growing this type of grass, and then I think they installed it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And like people were saying like the soil's not gonna be able to like grow roots, and it's gonna be like there's gonna be divots everywhere. And he's like, no, there's not. It's gonna be great. They bring it outside. Have you ever seen the system? They bring it outside at the Arizona Stadium so that it can get light, and then they bring it inside. It's on it's on a motorcade essentially thing. And they fucking fucked up, man. Somehow dude, players said they felt like they were playing on an ice skating rink.
It was the grass was like a newly funded grass by the USGA. And they were Mike Wan, who's the CEO, tweeted out before, like, we're proud to play a role. And then it was a disaster. I mean, look, I know that there's probably a lot more factors that go into this, but if we think about grass that is grown for golf, it flies, right? Like that's called a divot. Like when you hit the grass, the club goes through it and then it goes flying. You don't really want that to happen on a football field. Again, it's probably not that simple, but I don't know if I want the grass on the fairway to be the same as, the grass when they're cutting.
If you ask football players, they'd want to play on a rock hard, like behind a high school grass rather than that. Like they've been playing football their whole lives. They know how to play on just like regular hard grass surfaces. Yeah. Why does the Super Bowl have to be this new, like squishy, watery grass? Like that's not what they're used to, and they've never played on. That's insane.
That was shocking.
They said it was the worst field they'd ever played on.
It's the worst field they ever played on.
It's a Super Bowl.
That was an issue. I just can't even fathom that. How is that not, tried, true, and tested for? I don't know. I can't even fathom fucking that up that much.
It should be the only thing they were confident about. Like this grass field that we have to take care of, that's the playing surface of the biggest game of the year, is going to be great. It's going to be fine. We know how to grow grass. We are a football stadium. They play football on grass. So we've been doing this for 100 years at this point. We're fine. We got this.
You know what it reminds me of? When the great pizza reviewer Dave Portnoy went to an established Long Island Italian restaurant.
My dad fucked it up.
And he just decided at the last second to try something new when you guys have been making pizzas for almost 70 years.
Yep.
Just keep it consistent. Let the guy try it and it's going to be fine. And he switched it at the last moment and it just didn't go over all that well.
Pizza reviews became a huge thing. They're the biggest thing on the internet. I'm the pizza recorder. I'm pizza boy to Dave Portnoy, the pizza king. The whole storyline of me going back to Borelli's was a massive one. The anticipation was through the roof. Dave went to Belmont to watch and gamble on the horses, and then he was going to come to Borelli's. I ordered him a limousine to pick him, Elio, all of his friends up at Belmont and drive them to Borelli's. The anticipation was out of control. You could cut it with a fucking butter knife. That's how it was. It was right there in front of you. You could actually see it. You could see the air in between me and Dave. It was fucking thick. And he walks in. And at this point, I was in the limousine with Dave, so I wasn't able to be at Borelli's to prepare my dad for what was about to happen. I was just texting and calling, and in that moment, he takes Laredo, who's been making pizza for 60 years at Borelli's. We've been open for 68 years. Laredo's been there for 60 years. I think about 8 years after it opened in 1955, he came strolling in from Italy with a Russian man. It was just him and a Russian guy. They got off the boat. They landed in East Meadow, New York somehow. And they walked in. He just had a little suitcase and a briefcase, and he just goes, I work here now. And they just taught him how to make pizzas. And he's been making pizzas so long that his thumbs go sideways from just pushing in the dough every single second, just moving dough and flattening it out. His thumbs are all sideways, and he knows nothing but pizza. If you ask him who the president is right now, he has no idea. He doesn't even know. What's your favorite music? He goes, music? What? Like, he doesn't understand. Like if you're just like, oh, like what's that shirt? He goes like, shirt. Like he doesn't know like what. He doesn't know like what words are. He just knows pizza.
So given that buildup, he made the pizza for Dave, right?
No, my dad kicked him off, and my dad made the pizza because he thought my dad was so excited and nervous because my dad's watched every single pizza review, all 1,800 of them. That he's like, he likes them crispy, he likes them thin crust, he likes them well done. So I'm going to make this pizza in a way that Dave Portnoy likes it. But that is not what you do. You don't change it up.
Yep.
You know, we don't have like the world's best pizza at Borelli's, but it's been good enough to last us 68 years of business. That's insane when you think about it for a restaurant. So let's just go with the fastball. You know, even if it's a 7.5 or an 8.1 or a 2, or you know what it is. Now, it turns out my dad did make it a good pizza. Like I think Laredo's would have been like an 8.9, an 8.8, because I really fucking love Laredo's pizza. But my dad had that hint of doubt in there. He had somewhere in there. He's like, so he ended up fucking changing it. He makes it a 7.9. You're not in the 8s. The 8s are a travel pizza. It changes your business forever. If you're in the 8s, it changes your business forever. People are traveling the world to go there, but we got a 7.9 because my dad fucked it up. And it is what it is. You know, we'll never get that back. So there's the story.
I got to give a shout out to Jason Day, who finished top 5. And more
I bet him.
Hell of a bet.
A shout out to Kirk Minahan. So Kirk's been on fire. Last week, he had a random caller call in and just say, who do you like this week? And he gave Justin Rose and Denny McCarthy. Justin Rose won the tournament, was then on the podcast, so check that out. Last week, he's going around saying, I really like Jason Day. I don't know that he's necessarily going to win, but I like Jason Day. Threw money on him top 5. I know Frankie did well. A bunch of other people did as well. It was one of the great sweats of all time yesterday. I mean, we had to have, at one point, Jason Day, he makes a bogey on 10. He doesn't birdie the 2 par 5s, 13, 15. And then he gets to 16, has one right in the jaws, leaves the 17. He hits it out into a fairway bunker. He's got like 53 yards to the hole. Tyrrell Hatton makes an eagle to get into 5th. And so Jay Day goes down to 6th, and there's no road to success at this point. It's over. He's got no chance. He hits a bunker shot to like 18 feet. He fucking cans it. Then Tyrrell Hatton hits one in the water on 17 after barely missing on 16. And then we had, I don't even know about this dead heat reduction bullshit that people are telling me about, that if Jay Day was tied for 5th and not in solo 5th, we would have had to split all kinds of payouts. It wouldn't have been anywhere close to that. I didn't know that. I thought if he just gets top 5 or better, whether it's 37 people tied at 5th or not, that it's top 5. You're inside the top 5. You did it. Not the case. I didn't even know that. So it turns out we have Spaeth and fucking Hatton both had like 80 yards in on the last hole, on the 72nd hole. Spieth hit it to like 3.5 feet, misses, and Tyrrell Hatton didn't get up and down from like 70 or 80 yards. So just everything had to happen. Everything had to happen for this guy to finish top 5. He did. It was 11-1 odds. So a big shout out to Kirk. Thank you, Kirk. A big shout out to Jason Day, who came out of the clouds and got himself a top 5. Just a massive sweat that we had yesterday. In that
It's
final
one of the best parts about golf betting is that there's so many different things you can bet on, right? If you're betting on a football game, yes, there's props and stuff, but it's basically who's going to win, what's the spread going to be. You could have had him top 5, top 10, top 20, top 40. There's always a sweat. There's always a sweat.
Incredible.
Jesus.
Incredible. For Kirk Minahan to throw out Justin Rose and Jason Day back-to-back weeks, I mean, out of the fucking clouds to win the people money on the Barstool Sportsbook, those are names that, I mean, you're looking at that list. Who the hell is picking those guys? And then Jason Day was leading the golf tournament. I think Dave Portnoy said that he would have won like $250,000 if Jason Day would have won, and that at some point on Sunday, I think he started the round on Sunday 4 under, right? Like he went birdie, 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 birdie or something like that. And Dave's like, I think I have to go to the Waste Management right now and make sure that I'm locking eyes on Jason Day because this is life change. Like this is insane. $250,000 on the line, and this guy came out of nowhere.
He should make my pick for the cut this week. I let the team
Kirk?
down. Yeah, I let the team down.
No, we ride strong with the team no matter
because
what.
we've had some success. Yeah, it's
What are we, 3 out of 5.
3 out of 5.
We missed it by one shot this week, boys. One
stroke.
shot.
Tommy Fleetwood was 1 over, and that was it. And you had to be even or better. I mean, that's amazing that we missed it by 1 shot. So great effort by us. Anybody that's upset about that, we gave you a better than 4-1, a better than 8-1, an 8-1. Those are all winners. And then you missed out on like a 2.5-1. Are you fucking kidding me? Keep following football. You're going to be rich. It was very close.
You're going to be rich.
Very close. Barstool Sportsbook brings it. We're going to talk more about that later. We got to go because we're going to be joined by Nick Taylor, who just finished second place in the tournament. So we're going to have him on the show, break down a little bit more Phoenix Open stuff and probably much more. Dude, I just saw, speaking of $2.18 million, we're joined by Nick Taylor, just finished second at the Phoenix Open. Frankie was just doing a whole thing about how he thinks it's better than some of the majors and it should be elevated above those.
One major.
So we're doing a whole thing here, but so it's going to fit perfectly that you just finished second. I saw a tweet from Brantley Remind at Golf Channel that said you made last year in 28 events $832,000 of the PGA Tour, and yesterday you made $2.18 million in one event.
Yeah, it's a bit of a difference, isn't it? So I saw a tweet. I made more yesterday than my 2 wins combined. So I was like, oh wow,
that's wild.
How much of that is going through your mind when you're going down the stretch? Is it at all, or you're just trying to focus on maybe getting a win? Like what's going through your mind down the stretch?
Obviously the whole back nine was trying to win a golf tournament. With Scottie, playing as well as he was, he made, I feel like, 4 or 5 very critical, like crucial putts. Anywhere from like the second and third hole when Rahm and I made a couple birdies early to put pressure on him, he just kept making putts on top of us. All the way through that eagle putt, and obviously 16 was a pretty pivotal moment in the whole day. But it's someone in my position, probably unlike those 2 guys, where 2.18 is a big deal for me and my family versus those guys. They've had incredible 3-4 years on tour, so I'm sure it crosses my mind might be a little more than actually theirs, but it really wasn't. I knew on 18 it was probably out of reach to win, and that a solo second meant a lot with world ranking points and FedEx points and obviously money. So I knew I still had to be focused and kind of get the job done at finishing second. Obviously I tried to hold that wedge shot to put something on Scottie, but once he kind of hit the green, I knew it was kind of over and just kind of needed to finish the tournament off.
And the way you're playing, it was you and Scottie and Rahm. I mean, you were the third, and I don't think anyone gave you much of a chance at the start of the round. You're playing with 2 of the top 3 players in the world. You entered, I think you were number 223 in the world. What was the night before like, knowing you're going to be playing alongside those guys, and just how much confidence do you take from you matched them shot for shot? You beat John by 3 and you tied Scottie.
Yeah, I've been in that position where I was probably wasn't given much of a chance. When I played Phil a few years ago at Pebble, I'm sure not a lot of people picked me to beat Phil that day. I feel like when I've been in those situations, I've performed quite well. I just haven't really gotten those situations as much as I have liked. But yeah, it gives me a ton of confidence playing with both those guys, making putts when I needed to, hitting the shots that I needed to kind of compete. So yeah, there was, in hindsight, there's a couple things I might have done differently to maybe put a little bit more pressure on Scottie, but I felt like, that pivotal moment on 16, I felt like I hit a great swing off the tee, and the wind just took it, 4 yards too far left and went down there and it didn't work out. But yeah, I take a lot of confidence from it for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, how is this? How are you feeling now going into the full season? Like, when we're looking at that leaderboard, we're seeing like all these names. You see Nick Taylor in the middle. You're like, what who the hell is this? Like, what's going on? Like this Canadian guy, you gotta look him up. He's from Canada. I gotta see if you're a big hockey guy. We'll talk about that. But it's like, are you now like, oh yeah, I'm fucking Nick Taylor now? Like now, like I'm here. Like you're gonna see me on this leaderboard. Do you now like know that you can keep up with them? Like, is this what it took to be able to go toe to toe with these guys, to be able to say like, now this is where I belong?
Yeah, no question. I think playing, if I go back to Pebble Beach when I'd won a few years ago, that obviously gave me a ton of confidence. But within 3 weeks, the world shut down, so it was such a strange year after that. Especially for my golf, obviously the world, but golf took a backseat for a long time after that. So I struggled for a year and a half to kind of get my game back. And, playing with these two guys that are, younger than I am at the peak of their game, dominating our sport, to kind of go toe and toe with them, I proved a lot to myself. And I feel like now my world rankings to a point, someone texted this morning, I think I'm in the 70s. So that's my highest I've ever been. I feel like I can keep pushing forward now to get in events that, I've never played in before. So that's the exciting part. And I feel like everything I've been working on with my coaches and team, that it's obviously showing that it's working. And so doing a lot of the process stuff day by day and keep building on that is definitely what I've been focusing on the last 6 months, and it's been paying off.
Process. I'm always curious about the dynamic with you and your two playing partners before the first tee handshake. Like, is there head nods walking around? Do you introduce yourself to the guys before on the range, or do you just kind of like awkwardly walk around each other before you tee off?
I know them, like they're colleagues, I guess you could say. I probably have been around Scottie a lot more than John. I said hey to John's caddy, Adam Hayes. We didn't, there might have been a head nod with John, but he was in his own world and I was kind of in mine too. But they were chatty, they were good, they were complimentary, all of us, for our shots. So yeah, if you pass, you might give a quick head nod, but I'm sure they were kind of like, at least John, maybe like, who was this guy? But that was, we chatted enough during the round. It was all good.
How about the lip out on 17? You ever had one that brutal?
I've definitely had one that brutal in that moment. Definitely not. I had a buddy text me this morning, actually, like about 16. He's like, I think if you didn't see Scottie's putt, you might have, because, I initially had it pretty straight, almost going a little right from how my chip went by. And then when Scottie's went left, and then Rahm hit his putt, and he went right on the opposite side. There was a lot of time in between hitting that putt and probably overthought it a little bit. And then, being 2 down with 2 to play, obviously anything can happen, but I needed to make a birdie, obviously, on 17, and to have that lip out, and then, it kind of ended it there was pretty salty, but, it is what it is.
If our listeners don't realize, when he's talking about playing Phil, this was the 2020 AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am. You guys were in the final group. You and Phil Mickelson. This was obviously before everything went down. You spanked him. You spanked him that day. And you did so with my old boss, Jerry Tardy, as your partner in the Pro-Am. I used to work for Jerry at Golf Digest. But you've had a really interesting career. You were the #1 amateur in the world, which is obviously serious business. And it took you a couple of years. You're playing PGA Tour Canada. You got to go to Q school. You've won twice, but there's been kind of up and downs. Has that been difficult for you, going from being kind of the guy in college to, you were the kind of the odd man out in that group on Sunday?
Yeah, the game alone has changed a lot in 12, 13 years since I've been pro. It's such a power game now. And that was, I've talked with a lot of guys my age that, Joel Damon, for example, you guys know Joel quite well. Our games are quite similar, I think, where we're kind of plotters around the golf course compared to some of these guys now that, like the 180 ball speed is like a norm, and that Joel and I wouldn't dream of that ball speed. So like, yesterday, for example, on 15, I was asked, like they were questioning you laying up on 15. I'm like, that's just not, I was 240 kind of into the wind. I could pull that shot off, but I'm making 6 there way more than I am making a 3 by hitting a 3-iron close there. So I stuck to my strength, which is my wedge game. It didn't work out that hole, but I have no regrets on that, because that was the best decision for my game. But Canada, my work way through PGA Tour Canada was, I had fun up there. My game got better. I felt like when I turned pro, I definitely kind of went in a dip and, probably lost a lot of reasons of why I was good and had to find my way back. And then since I've been on PJ Tour, I've had some great finishes, obviously, but the consistency hasn't been there that I wanted. So that's when after last season, I kind of snuck in the playoffs and had some time to kind of look and see what I really needed to do. And I felt like we found a good recipe of what makes me as good as I can be. And so this year already I've had, outside of even this week, I've had a couple top tens, been in contention. And so I feel like it's on the right track of where I know I can be as a lot more consistent of a player.
So I saw Bob Weeks tweeted out that Nick Taylor moves to number 73 in the world. This is the first time there are 5 Canadians inside the top 100 in the official world golf ranking. So, I mean, is Canada coming right now? Is that something we got to watch out for?
Yeah, we're coming for everyone. No, yeah, it's great, man. Like Derek Ingram, he's taken over as the head coach of Golf Canada team there, and he has done a phenomenal job. He was the assistant coach when I was on the teams, and had a great impact on me, but he's kind of taken over. And, in the last like 6-8 months, with Corey and Mack have played really well. Adam has really rebuilt his game with Mark Blackburn and has been playing really solid. Pendrith had a bunch of time off there with some injuries, but he played phenomenal in the summer. And, I even played with him last Sunday and had a great round. Svensson winning in the fall. Like, we have so many good players out on tour that are playing great, let alone, I think we have 8 or 9 Canes on tour this year. So no, it's a lot of fun. We all know each other quite well. It's kind of our own little brotherhood, and it's fun to kind of support each other and play well.
You're a Winnipeg Jets fan?
No, I'm not. Wow. I had so many Winnipeg calls. I lived in Winnipeg for 2 years, so I went back there for Canadian tour.
Oh.
But I grew up out west near Vancouver in a town called Abbotsford. So I follow the Canucks. I don't watch as much hockey as I used to. But yeah, I don't follow the Jets much at all. So
Abbotsford is Devon Taves, right? That's where Devon Taves is from, Abbotsford, British Columbia.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. There's been a few guys come out of there.
I mean, what was your childhood playing in Canada? Is it? I mean, obviously it gets colder there. I'm not going to stereotype Canada. I'm just picturing it being freezing cold. It's definitely not Arizona and Florida.
No, so I went to school in Seattle. It is. I don't know how much time you spent in Seattle, but it's like the same climate. So growing up, I played golf on Christmas many a time. So you throw your rain gear on, your toque, you're going to be cold, but you figure it out with your buddies. You kind of walk around in the slop, and there's nobody out there. But it's much different for like Matt, Corey, Taylor, who grew up out east. Their courses were shut down for 6 months. That wasn't like us, so a little different. But you grind it out in the cold, and we figured it out somehow.
Yeah, there's some sick golf up in that area. That Pacific Northwest. Me and Frankie did a little bit of a trip. Obviously, Chambers Bay and all that gets the hype, but I feel like that's a sneaky great golf region up there.
Is that Whistler up there?
Whistler is, yeah, I actually was there for a good buddy's wedding in the summer. There's a few fun golf courses up there. But there's like 3 or 4 great private clubs up in Vancouver. Capilano is one of my favorites. Shaughnessy's hosted a Cane Open, I think twice. Marine Drive is a great one. Point Grey. The course I grew up on was Ledgely Golf Club. It's a little kind of mountain course and I love it. It's short. Greens are tricky, but there's been quite a few good players come out. Like Adam grew up there. Adam had one, and James Lepp, he was a phenomenal college player back in the day. So we've had a kind of a cool little breeding ground there.
What's the Swahili or something? Is that one of them up there? Something like that?
Oh, Sahali.
People
Sahali's in Seattle.
I
thought you were giving me a dig. I actually took Swahili in college, but we don't need to talk about that.
Whoa. How'd that go?
Know that
language?
Yeah, it was probably one of my biggest regrets with college, but no, it was like the athlete's language. So I had Jake Locker in my class. There was a few athletes, and so it was like your language requirement. And you have to take French in high school in Canada. I took it through grade 11, and I remember I was a teammate of mine did French immersion, and which means he spoke fluent French, but he actually failed the entry test on purpose to get in my class. So he just wouldn't have to go and would just crush the class. And we show up the first day, and our teacher starts speaking fluent French, and I'm like, what did I get myself into? This is not me. And so I panicked, got out, and ended up doing Swahili the next year. So I get a hard time for my wife and everybody else that I took Swahili and I can't speak a single word.
I was going to say, how much Swahili are you using these days?
Hujambo, C Jumbo is hello in return, and that's about it. My son loves the Lion King, so Rafiki, Hakuna Matata, that's all Swahili. So I got about 10 words in my vocab.
You guys see that Canadian commercial last night during the Super Bowl with Dave Grohl, where he rattled off all the inventions that came from Canada? Some of them were stunning.
Well,
basketball and football being one of them was nuts to me.
I think the radio.
Radio? Yeah. Peanut butter, that was a stunner. Paint rollers, walkie-talkies, batteries, egg cartons, ironing boards, electric wheelchairs, and the whoopee cushion.
The whoopee cushion. They probably could have left that one out.
Yeah, that one is not as a joke, it's up there with the greats.
But in terms of innovative,
egg cartons a little. People just weren't putting eggs in anything before.
No,
how are they tracing that back?
Unbelievable invention where you're like, we have all these eggs, they're breaking as we take them from one place to another, and someone came up with all this figure of styrofoam, I guess, at the beginning of it, and they're like, oh yeah, this makes fucking sense.
They've been cashing in for a while, that's for sure.
I didn't realize James Naismith was Canadian. That's a stunner to me. That's a big one for basketball.
You mentioned University of Washington. Were you there when Joel was there for the brief time Joel was there?
Yeah, we came in together as freshmen, and I was still attending University of Washington, and we lived together for 2 years.
Yeah, so Joel kind of talks about this in sort of evasive ways. He kind of is like, oh yeah, I was a bit of a crazy guy. What was Joel like for that 1 year in Washington? Because he did not last very long.
So Joel and I got a lot closer near the end of our school, or end of our first year, and we lived together. I'll let him tell most stories, but no, Joel was great. He liked to have a good time. I don't think school at that point of his life was for him. But so he actually wasn't. He was going to community college, trying to come back to UW, and I think he probably went for a year and just called it quits for that. But we lived together for 2 years, had a great time. He golfed occasionally, drank more beer than probably hit golf shots, but we had a good time.
That's our guy. That's our guy. It's right up there. He's going to be he's very prominent in this series, right? Every time.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
How excited are you that he named his child after you?
So I felt terrible because I want to say it's like it's a family member whose name from I think maybe his wife's side or something like that. And I looked when they posted, I think I woke up fucking hungover that day or whatever. I look on his Instagram and it's like, welcome to the world. Rick Saban, I went through and it was just every other comment was tagging me. And I was like, that is the last thing on earth that they want on a day like today. Luckily, Joel's cool. I don't think he really cares. But I got a handful of texts from people, a couple people at work being like, did Joel Damon name his kid after you? And I was like, no, that's definitely
hopefully not.
No, that would be psychotic. There's another somebody who's an NFL quarterback has a dog, I think, named Riggs.
It's Taves. That's Devon Taves, Abbotsford, Canada. He named his dog Riggs.
Oh, did he? I didn't know that.
Or
I honestly
Riggins.
think there's another one.
I think it's Riggs because he's also a Friday Night Lights fan.
Okay.
I'm getting crushed by this fucking sun, by the way. I don't know if you guys have seen
You're really
what I've been
powering
dealing
through.
with. I'm not powering through any of it. It's been completely taken all of my.
You don't have blinds. You can't splurge.
It's coming
blinds?
through the blinds. It's coming through the blinds. I have a shitty blind system, I guess, because it's blinding me. Is what it's doing.
You got blinds on your hoodie. I can see the outline.
It's unbelievable.
Not all of us won 2.18 million and can just put blackout shades into our house immediately.
So we started off this show today talking about, because we were out there at the Waste Management, and that was my first time ever there. I know Riggs and Trent have been there. Danny's obviously been there, and I'm a sucker for being at an event and getting caught up in all the theatrics. We've been to PGA Championships, we've been to US Opens, we've been to all of them. I've really never seen anything like that at the Waste Management, with the crowd, the vibe. Even when guys walking through the tunnel where it says welcome to the loudest hole in the world, and you're just you're getting the chills all day. It has all that meaning to it. Where do you rank that in events that you've played? I personally put it fourth. And if I was trying to think about being a professional golfer, where would I want to win? Being down that in that final stretch to me is is real special. So, I mean, for you, where do you rank that?
Honestly, since I've been on tour, it's probably now number one for the last couple of
Yeah.
days. You know, I've only played the Masters once, and that was the COVID year in 2020. So there wasn't anybody out there. So I've never experienced the Masters, you know, in its prime. Obviously hope to get back there. You know, a close second, honestly, is when I played the US Open in 2008 at Torrey Pines as an amateur. Obviously, a lot of that was brand new to me, but Tiger was there in his prime, and that's when he won. And I remember my brother and I, we actually the preview, or they replayed it earlier this year, but I missed the cut, but we stuck around. I snuck in like inside the ropes where the media were when Tiger was teeing off on Sunday, and we were like, we made it the first hole, and then we got booted because obviously we didn't belong there. But the crowd's there, and his like he walked by us after his warm up putting, and like he just like stared right through your soul. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. And then he hit the worst tee shot I think I've ever seen in my life on the first hole and made double. But anyways, it was like that was one of the coolest experiences I ever had at that time. But yesterday it was almost like two different crowds on Saturday compared to yesterday. Saturday was like a party crowd. You know what I mean? It was every hole was 5 to 8 deep, and I was in the third last group. And there was obviously golf fans watching the golf, but they were just having a time. And then yesterday seemed a bit quieter at the start. It definitely picked up as the day went on, but it was more golf fans. I think everybody probably drank too much Saturday and didn't want to come out yesterday. And but the whole experience, 16 was absolutely wild all week. I kind of went through there on peak times Thursday, Friday, which was fun. Made birdie both days, which was really cool. But yeah, I think it was for the position I was in. This week was definitely probably number one for me.
I mean, talking about guys sneaking back in after the round, Callum Tarrant on Saturday, our guy Callum missed the cut Saturday morning and then ran up to this top of 16. And basically, someone smacked me in the ass. I'm like, who the heck was that? And I turned around, and he was double fisting beers, being like, what's up, lad? I'm just like, no way. This guy just got off the golf course and he's already housing beers. And I had to go do a couple commitments for like 2K, and we had to do ads. I'm like, I got to get out of here. He goes, you are such a loser. Like, he was already just in one up there, and like we put out that video and he became everyone's favorite golfer ever. It's so cool when you see like what you're saying, you go out there and you become a fan. Like a guy that was in the actual event is such a fan of the sport and like the environment and and everything about it, that they actually have to go witness what everyone else is witnessing. I mean, that doesn't happen to any other sport. You don't see a baseball player like strike out in the seventh and go out into the bleachers in Yankee Stadium and like see what the crowd's feeling.
Yeah, no, it's such a unique event in that way, and it's, you know, I'll give them credit. They've done a great job of adding more and more to the, if you want to call it, controlled chaos. And it's just, it keeps getting better in a sense. There was times where, you know, the heckling was maybe too much, but I feel like now it's just, you just deal with it. It's part of it. They've added a few more police officers to quiet some people down, but it's it's a fun environment to be in. And obviously when you're in contention, it's even more of a thrill.
Yeah.
Any surprises this last week? I mean, I know everybody likes to harp on the crowd or whatever. Was there anything you were surprised by throughout the week?
Saturday, honestly, everyone I talked to was like, that was insane. Like I played Jason Day. He's obviously been in a lot of big moments. And he's like, I don't think I've ever seen this, especially at a regular tournament. Like we're walking up the 8th hole and it's just like packed with people. And we're just like, it's wild. It's just, I didn't think you could put that many people on a golf course. And there was, you know, I didn't see the numbers. I heard there was maybe close to 300,000 people on the ground Saturday. I don't know how accurate that is, but just insane.
It's insanity.
Just insane.
That's an outrageous number. That's so cool. Yeah, because the front nine, I mean, I get it. 16 is going to be nuts, and 17, they got the Bay Club up there and all that, but the front nine is generally considered pretty sparse with the crowd, you know, comparatively to the rest of the course. So for it to be that energetic walking up 8, like 8's a nondescript hole with very
I know. Yeah.
That's really cool. Holy cow.
Like I tell everybody from home, or I'm like, yeah, you know, you could watch anybody like 1 through 9 and it gets a little wild. I'm like, that changed this year. That you can watch if you wanted to go, let's say me, who would, you know, typically you could watch me wherever you want. But, no, the Saturday was insane. It was crazy. And then like Sunday, when Ricky made that ace, we were a couple holes over. Like that was a super cool roar, because obviously you hear some of that on 16, but when they started chanting Ricky, it was pretty evident that he made a hole in one. So it was pretty fun.
We were talking earlier on this podcast about how Scottie hit a lot of poor tee shots yesterday. I think he only hit 5 fairways. He got a few lucky breaks on the back 9, but it seems like he almost has this, Jordan Spieth-like ability to just make a 4 somehow, or to just make a 3. When it became a match play situation, I know that's a cliche, but it was kind of just you and him down the stretch. Is that frustrating? I mean, you got to be thinking, oh, here's an opening here. Nope, it's not. There's an opening. Nope, it's not. Because I remember when I was playing, It was like when a guy was doing that to you, it's killer.
Yeah. No, he made, like I said, it honestly started from like the 3rd hole. He just, every time we put pressure on him, he just made a putt on top of us. So it was super impressive that way. There was a couple times where I had a small opening. If I could have pulled off a shot, like I go back to 16, but that chip is one I feel like, you're not going to hold that very often, but it was a pretty good lie. I was looking straight up. If I could have hit that the tap in range, I felt like that might have really changed it a little bit. I left almost the door open for him when I chipped it to about 6 feet. Obviously, it was a pretty tricky putt down the hill, but no, he just capitalized on every moment. I don't have a whole lot of things I can take back. I've obviously played great, but that was when I look back where if I could have just changed that a little bit and put a little more pressure on him, things might have changed, but never know.
So you're playing in a tournament with Tiger Woods coming up.
Wow.
You excited about that as a guy that, in 2008 ducked under the ropes and got kicked out after one hole?
I'm stoked. I saw that. I think it was, I don't know when he tweeted it, Friday maybe. And that spread like wildfire through the locker room. So I saw the last regular season event he's played was 2020 or something. Like it's this is my 9th year on tour, and I just haven't had a whole lot of events with him. People are like, have you played with Tiger before? And I'm like, I haven't. I just, obviously I'm not gonna be paired with him the first 2 days. And the weekend I've missed him a couple times by a group. But yeah, he adds such a dynamic to the tournaments, and the buzz it's completely different when he's at a tournament. I don't know how many events you guys have been at with him, but it is so different when he's there. It doesn't matter who's in the field. So it's exciting. I hope he plays well. Those walks down 1 and up 18 will be interesting for him, but I hope he plays well.
I'm here. Where are you? When are you getting here?
Tomorrow morning. I thought I'd decompress today.
I think the people playing with Tiger, I think on the on 18 and 1, I think maybe they just everybody just kind of locks arms, and maybe we carry him up and down. Very subtle, just nobody make a big deal about it, but just kind of
piggyback
lift him up.
Just give him a piggyback ride.
No, that's too obvious. I'm saying just like get on either side and just everybody kind of lift and walk, and then that's you're paying homage and you make his life a little bit easier.
Nick Taylor, are you going to commit if you have to carry Tiger Woods down the first tee box?
I'm not strong enough to carry him. He's put on some muscle, it looks like. So someone said last week they should get one of those like kind of elderly chairs that slide up sideways.
Yes.
I don't think he'd agree to that, but I think everyone would be.
What if he just tells people totally like agree. I have to go to the bathroom, and they like bring the cart out and they like drive him to the bathroom, but it happens to be down like by the fairway on 1. Like he can really get creative with this. Like if he's on the 18th fairway and he's like, guys, I have to go like pee, but just like wait until after I'm done with it. Like I need to get up this hill, but first I'm going to pee after it. So you have to drive.
The only thing standing in the way of any of this is Tiger. Tiger's the guy who won't do it. Everyone is willing to help. Everyone in the gallery, every one of the players, every one of even the PGA Tour officials, they would help him, but he's the guy who wants to carry him. What's that?
Joey will carry him with the bag and everything.
He won't. He'll be like, I'm walking down that hill and I'm walking up that hill. That's who he is.
If he wanted to, he has the option.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
the only.
Can you slide down? Can you? I've never been there. Can you slide on your butt down?
Phil kind of did that. Where did Phil do that? Danny, you're
I was in Palm Springs, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of concretey. It's concretey here. I don't think you could do it.
No, that's going to cause more harm.
What if you roll down?
Yeah,
sideways?
like a Healy situation. He'd have to break pretty quickly, but a Healy's would probably work.
Yeah, a roll.
You should approach Nike about the Healy They might
That would-
do
Yeah,
that.
well, they got to get it
imagine
back
they
in
put
their
a
shoes
fucking
somehow.
Healy in his fucking shoe.
Bro,
and
I
he
said
just
that
looks-
when we first talked about this. I was
Did
like,
you?
yeah, dude. I was like, we were thinking about all different ways. Like Joey carries him, or he gets one of those. We saw in the airport a couple days ago where the one leg is down and the one leg is up, and you sort of scoot around. I said put Heelys and just rip the fairways.
We still think he's going to be wearing like FootJoy shoes again.
Has Nike not figured that out yet to just make him the same exact shoe he likes with just a Nike logo on it? What are we talking about?
I feel like they have a pretty good budget for R&D. I'm pretty shocked he's still wearing those.
Isn't that nuts?
They're bringing back they're bringing back the Tiger 13s, the iconic shoes from 10 years ago. Maybe he'll be rocking those.
But here's the thing: everyone keeps saying like, "Oh, like their current shoe lineup doesn't fit his needs." Like, don't make a one of one. He's Tiger Woods. Why does it be like, "Oh,
Dude,
maybe
also,
one day we'll come with the Tiger 13s again"?
R&D, they do have all the money in the world, Nike does, but we'll just go buy a FootJoy, rip off the FJ, put a swoosh on it, and that's it. That's the R&D. That's like boots on the ground R&D.
Know.
It's crazy that it's happening.
Nick,
It's crazy.
what kind of like athlete are you like with your buddies? Are they allowed to like talk to you mid tournament? Like, are you like back and forth with your friends about it, or do you like to just completely shut off and then talk like post round?
I'll text with buddies. My phone was blown up Saturday night, so I barely looked at it. I knew that wasn't going to help anything. But I'll text with good close buddies. We had a good crew out actually at Pebble Beach. We had some friends come down, and we had dinner with them almost every night. So I definitely I'll chat with them. But nights like Saturday night, I just wanted to shut it all off. I didn't really look at social media. I just kind of did my own thing. I knew it would just be a distraction and my mind would wander. So I didn't really need that going into Sunday.
What'd you do Saturday night? Watch TV?
I chased my son around probably with dinosaurs, which is his go-to currently.
So he got that app. So he got that app on the phone with all the dinosaurs that he like checks
no,
off.
he's got about 3,000 different dinosaur figurines. So he enjoys Target, and we don't say no very often. So that's how it works.
Yeah, my nephew's 6 and he's obsessed with all the dinosaurs too. He's got a million of them, but he's got the app, and it's like, he has them fight each other on the app nonstop. So it's all I hear about. It's like, who do you think's going to win between this and this? He's like, let's find out. And then they just do it over and over again.
We're not quite there yet, but I've found out 30 more dinosaurs than I ever knew existed in the last 6 months. So that's been my challenge.
Have you showed him Jurassic Park? Is that or not old enough for Jurassic Park?
No, he's just over 3, so he's
okay.
A couple there's a dinosaur movie on Disney. He loves other stuff that will.
What about Land Before Time? Is that
that was my personal favorite. He might have watched it for 10 minutes and
right.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to watch
this. Are probably terrible now, right? It's probably feels really
they're
old.
Not great.
Have you showed him Sing or Sing 2 yet? Has he gotten
Sing 2? I've seen that movie 100 times. It's a great movie.
How good is that movie though? I mean, for a movie that a parent has to watch on a replay on repeat, you hit the golden ticket there, because that is a fantastic flick.
Sing 1 was a hit. Sing 2 was probably a bigger hit. He always used to yell. He would yell "Monkey Stars," which was Johnny's performance, and he would dance around the house constantly with it. That's a great movie.
I give a lot of recommendations for movies on this podcast, and I'm telling you right now, Sing 2 is one of the better animated movies I've ever seen in my entire life.
Frankie cried on a plane watching that.
I cried on the plane at the end.
Planes are emotional. Planes are emotional.
I don't want to give the ending away, but you know what I'm talking about, Nick. That was they really hit you with the heartstrings there.
Bono steps up. Bono steps up.
Fucking Bono.
I gotta watch this. I gotta watch both of them.
Yeah, you do.
You should watch the first one.
Yeah. Was there a new dinosaur like Jurassic Park movie commercial last night during the Super Bowl? Did you see this early on? There was something.
I think there's a new movie that has dinosaur aspects in it, because I remember Lights, Camera,
65 million years ago or something I saw, right? Wasn't that at the beginning?
It's another franchise that's going back to the dinosaur times. I forget which one it was though.
Fast and Furious.
That one.
Fast and Furious. Really good.
Fast and Dangerous.
Vin Diesel's coming back as a T-Rex. That's what he's doing.
Dude, nothing's off the table with that franchise. Nothing. And that's what makes it great.
All right, Nick. We appreciate it, man. Thank you very much for jumping on. Amazing week. You handled yourself insanely well inside the ropes there. With those 2 heavyweights, you were right in. You shot 65 in the final round. You got yourself $2.18 million, which is fucking sick. I imagine that must be really cool.
That's what
Wild
it was to win a
Wednesday.
major like 3 years ago.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wild Wednesday is going to be sweet on Wednesday. So, I hope all that goes through successfully.
You gonna buy anything cool? Like, is there anything like, oh, now I'm just gonna like get something just commemorate this week?
I still drive around my 2010 Honda Pilot, so I haven't really
Wow.
bought a whole lot of stuff.
Amazing.
Holy smokes, that's awesome.
My wife gives me shit for that, but we'll take our son to Target, and we'll probably buy him a sweet dinosaur, and then
Let's go.
Dude, you can't let him see that. Like, you can't let him find out what this means. That
dinosaur
there's no
through the
concept
roof.
of that yet. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
But
He comes in, he's like,
yeah,
Dad.
we'll
He's like, Dad, I've been crunching the numbers, and we can go down both aisles this week because
we can
I'm
afford a
cleaning that
T-Rex
place out.
and a Carnotaurus.
Amazing.
Thanks.
All right, man.
Thanks, guys. It was
good
fun.
luck this week. Play well
thanks,
again,
Jake.
and get that W. We appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks,
man.
guys. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate you. Thanks.
All right, big thanks to Nick joining. Great dude. First time I've ever really chatted with him, but Progress, Canadian, very Canadian guy, obviously.
That was stunner.
The Progress, you hadn't heard the Progress?
I just started recording my audio, but yeah, that was a stunner. I feel like I've talked to a lot of Canadians. Also, this sun. As we're doing this podcast, I'm ordering a blackout shade because this is unacceptable. I've talked to a lot of Canadians. I never heard Progress before.
I'm not sure if I had heard Progress either, but
it's that one. And then when you
from
talk to a guy like Trotty and he says aluminium.
Trotte. Netflix. So, mentioned it a few times briefly on the show, but the premiere is out. I watched the first episode, most of the first episode. Laughed out loud at the part where they just describe what a birdie is, but we have on the show for months said that that's pretty much what they're going to have to do, and that is what they had to do. But I just couldn't. It made it seem like almost a parody video to me at first when they just described like they set a par as expected number of strokes at a hole, and they put that graphic on the screen. And I just was like, yeah, I mean, this is going to be elementary for people that follow golf all the time. But it was good. It was fascinating. The private jet stuff with Jordan and JT was great. And obviously, like, there was another part where it's like, if you're a golf fan, like, we've been fed the Spieth JT thing, like, to the point where we're full and had enough of it. But like, that's kind of what they led with. Still seeing him in the PJ and a bunch of the back and forth, a bunch of the behind the scenes type stuff. I thought the coming up part actually at the end even like hyped me up the most, where they get Rory and whatever. So Dan's in the show. They feature you pretty prominently, a lot of the narration and all of that. But you must feel, I mean, having gone to the premiere and all that, you gotta feel pretty good that this puppy's out there now and that the full series is coming out on Wednesday.
It's been a long time coming for sure. It's been like over a year. Yeah, I mean, I think, look, what you're saying with the birdie and the par stuff, I keep having to remind myself kind of what you were saying a couple podcasts ago, which is like the majority of the people who watch this, or at least hopefully, the majority of the people who watch this are just going to see it on Netflix on Wednesday, right? They haven't been counting down the days like we are. They haven't been breaking it down. They haven't been reporting news about when one guy signs on. They're just going to be like, oh, I might as well give this a try. And so, yeah, the show needs to be digestible for someone like that. The one thing that I will say for hardcore golf fans is like the actual golf stuff. I know what happens, so I don't find that to be quite as right, like riveting. Like, were you watching all the way through the end of the JT episode, or did you kind of zoom out?
No, I was watching. I thought even that, like, it reminded me too in the Tiger doc when they go through the actual golf stuff. I don't think they ever do a great job of it. Like, I do think there's a way to portray that in a pretty fascinating way, and they kind of just show like a side angle view of them like teeing off, and like they do that on every hole instead of like showing like that's not easy, like to hit those shots on 18. It's like, okay, JT has a 1-stroke lead, and then again they just show like this side view of them just swinging what looks like they just swing the same every time on every hole, and it's the same, whereas like that 18th hole, Mito Pereira made a double, like that 18th tee shot's crazy hard, and they don't really show it. They just kind of show them swinging. So the golf is always, for whatever reason, they don't, in recap type stuff or documentaries, I never feel like they like showcase it particularly interestingly. And then the other thing is like, it's not chronological. which I guess like that made sense that they kind of had to do it that way. It might be a little bit boring if they did, whereas like they kind of start with like Hilton Head is like the first tournament they feature or something. And I'm like, that's after the Masters tournament. So it's like, that's a little nuts. Like there should be build up to the Masters and Tiger Woods coming, which that's clearly going to come at some point, but like it not being before they talk about like Jordan Spieth winning at the RBC Heritage. I was like, what? So a little bit of that, if you're a golf fan, was a little bit just kind of weird and confusing. But overall, I mean, it's must watch. I thought like I was plugged in the whole time. I thought it was fucking fascinating.
Is the whole series being released on Wednesday, or is it just every Wednesday?
The whole series
Wow.
comes live Wednesday at like 3 a.m. Eastern. Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a. I've watched, because I'm a golf nerd. I'm sure you guys like the official film. You can watch the Open Championship official film, or there's things, and those really take you through the tournament.
Yep.
And I guess that's kind of how I conceptualized this show, was it was just going to go from the start of the year to the end of the year and tell you the story of all the different tournaments. That's also kind of what the F1 show does. Like I think every episode is one Grand Prix. This show is about people. The golf and the golf tournaments are in the backgrounds. The show is about the people in the episode. So this first episode is all about JT and Spieth. There's a episode that's all about Scottie Scheffler and Brooks Koepka. There's an episode that's all about Colin Morikawa and Tony Finau. So they jump all over the place time wise. They really double down mostly on narratives. It's a very dramatic show. Some of it will probably make you roll your eyes, and it feels every episode is very dramatic. But again, that's the stuff that's easy for middle America to follow, and we have to keep. I didn't mean that in a mean way, Trent.
Fuck.
I meant people. I meant people who aren't
you
golf
said it
fans.
so
Your
casual.
parents can enjoy the show.
You said
Trent.
it so casual. Listen.
They dumbed it down so
Danny,
that your
listen.
family can sit there and be like, I like this.
The most disrespectful part of that is you said it so casually that I know you've been saying it a
Ridge
lot.
members can understand
Right.
it.
I knew you said it so just like this is how I've been saying it, that you've been saying it a lot, and you've been disrespectful to my part of the country for
That was insane.
however long you've been talking about it. Middle America, come on, man.
I meant non-golf fans. I meant average people who are just going to watch,
canceled
just
for
see
something
this,
like that nowadays.
see this on Netflix.
I bet you get your ass kicked saying something like that. around
No,
there.
I know what you meant. It was a little disrespectful, but I know what you meant. I'm excited to watch it. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't watched the episode yet, so I'm a little interested to see. It is interesting that they're not doing it chronologically. That's my main takeaway from this conversation about the show. That's interesting to me.
Yeah, it was like they kind of highlight, and again, I think they did it the right way with this, but they're highlighting the Spieth JT thing, and then so because they're doing that and getting it into it early, and this is what they've chose to lead with, they go into like Spieth winning at the RBC Heritage and like what that week was like, which makes sense. But again, it kind of hit me as a surprise, being like, I know the whole calendar for the most part. Like we went through it and watched all the tournaments, whatever. But it is, I mean, getting those two guys, they're like FaceTiming each other, and they talk about how Spieth's the best man and giving a speech at JT's wedding, and like they get into a lot of that stuff, which is fucking fascinating. I mean, it's good. It's good,
I mean, it's gonna be
stuff.
It's gonna be great. Like overall, it's gonna be great stuff to watch. You can't really. It's still golf, so it's never going to be The Last of Us. It's not going to be like you have to watch the next episode to see what happens. It's just going to be fucking awesome to see these guys off the golf course. That's like what this series is. It's going to be great. We're going to enjoy the shit out of it. And then there's going to be a season 2, and we're going to enjoy the shit out of that. I doubt that we'll ever have anything that's going to like, and maybe I'm wrong, Dan, but like anything that's going to like make headlines. Like I feel like in the Drive to Survive, certain things were said that like that community is like, holy shit, I didn't know those guys felt like that about each other, and like it caused like crazy chaos on the track.
There's a very very prominent player who says, he says fuck you, Phil, to the camera, and I think that's people are gonna
that
enjoy
shit's gonna make it like, wow, this show's like giving us the juice.
Maybe
they'll tweak that for season 2 too. Maybe they'll see like people want the juice a little bit more. But
guys are already like being much leaning. Players are leaning into it much more. I already saw it last week. They're like, and it's the same thing that happened with F1, where Lewis Hamilton wasn't in the first season, and then he sees that it's really positive for the sport, and people get a little bit of FOMO. That's happening now. Guys are like raising their hands, being like, let's do it. I think some of the guys who weren't in it before, John Rahm, Max Homa, Xander Schauffele. Wouldn't be surprised at all to see those guys in season 2. Yeah, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot for like the really snarky golf fan to pick apart. Like you said, Riggs, I think there's somewhere in there where they say, oh, the RBC is a springboard for the rest of the year. It's like, well, technically speaking, no, but it works for the narrative. And this show is about the narrative. It's not about being completely accurate.
I respect that.
Right.
I actually respect that when you break it down that way. I'm a narratives guy. We're a narrative podcast to a certain extent. So if that's what it's going to get at the juice, then squeeze it that way.
Did CBS do that talking to the player thing this week?
I don't think
Not
so.
sure.
I didn't see it. I saw Keith Mitchell did one last week, but I don't think they did it this week.
Interesting.
Yeah, some guys were saying that, like Patrick Cantlay was like, I'm never doing that. And I think everyone was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So Rahm was like, maybe. I think they'll do it. Again, these guys have FOMO. You think they're above it, but they're not. If one guy's doing it and people are liking it, then the next guy's going to want to do it.
Because Rahm mentioned it to us before we recorded with him, and he was just like saying that they were asking him. I was wondering if they ended up doing it or not. It is hard to ask a guy to put a one earpiece in and hit a shot in contention like you're about to win $3 million and like you're going to change up that guy's process. But of course, like Max is the fucking man that like he just didn't care about like what was going to happen, or he's maybe done it more than most people, so he can figure it out. But it'll be interesting to see if they're able to get these guys to do it. To actually hit a shot with one earpiece in is nuts.
I think you got to do it. Didn't Max do it on a Thursday or a Friday?
Yeah.
You can't.
He did on Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
Oh wow, he did.
That's
do it on
further
Saturday.
than I thought. Because I was going to say that it's
I think he did it on Friday, but the tournament finished on Saturday.
Oh,
that's
right.
correct, and that's
My
going
brain
back to
hurts.
what we were saying earlier when we just don't know what's going on.
Right,
with that.
right,
It was
right.
the third
Okay.
round.
Third
It was the
round.
third round.
Third round is deeper than I would have thought, though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he played the whole well. I mean, I think right, like he's like, I just have an earpiece in, like just everybody shut up for 30 seconds while I hit my shot, and then I like it's not going to affect my
Physical
my
thing
balance.
I'm saying. The
But
physical
Rob-
balance to me, I think, would throw me off. I mean, he does the swing without an earpiece, so it's like now you're just adding that.
It
just
sounds
changes your
crazy, and
professional
it sounds
golf
like
swing.
all right. Now this is where you get in the territory where people are like, all right, golfers like fucking relax. But John Rahm said that, so I don't know how
Right.
it's.
Yeah, Rahm's like, I don't know if I could do it.
It's going to affect everybody differently for sure, but I could see plenty of people I feel like being like, yeah, throw an earpiece in there. It doesn't, like sometimes I put a beanie on if it's cold. That doesn't like ruin my entire golf. So, it's like you can, like I have something different on my head than I had before. And
Definitely
it just
depends
is
on
what
the
it is.
person. Depends on
AirPod Pros are you could feel those things, dude. Those things you can feel. That's a feel. That's like not a beanie on the head. It's like you have something inside
Dude,
your
I'm
ear.
the opposite. Like I put AirPod Pros in when I'm on the plane and I fall asleep. When I wake up, I forget that I have them in.
That's crazy.
Dude, me and Frankie, we flew out. Who knows where we were going? We were sitting next to each other, and a big topic of conversation was he had just gotten the new AirPods, I think.
Yeah, it's my first month with them.
And he just couldn't believe, and I'm a little bit with him
The
because
noise
when you put
reduction.
the AirPod Pros in and you turn on the noise canceling, and then you take them out while you're on the plane, the world rushes back into you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
the
definitely.
world is so loud when you end up putting it on mute. And these AirPod Pros put the world on mute, man. Like it's gone. Everyone's gone. It's it. It's just in your own world. And the first time experiencing that, legit, I opened up AirPod Pros out of the box on a plane. So like I went from chaos to just nothing. Like I feel like if I would have done that in like a quiet house, it wouldn't have. I was like I drowned out like babies crying and engine roaring at 30,000 feet. That was stunning. I looked at Trent. I'm like, this is nuts. So that would take me a lot to hit a golf shot with all that in me. But yeah,
It's case by case. Some guys are going to do it, and some guys aren't.
I don't know. I feel like we would have seen it if somebody did it this last week. We would have seen the whatever. They put the clip out and they brag about doing it and the whole deal. Speaking of Max Homa, phenomenal club throw yesterday. After just basically, I think he topped one out of a fairway bunker, gave it the full treatment, which I think 99% of people watching just love to see. You've all been there. Infuriating game. Even the people at the best, Max Homa, his golf swing, people were starting to talk about how he's elevating himself up there in the conversation with after the President's Cup performance, how much he's won in the last couple of years, winning again at Torrey Pines relatively recently. Here he is up there, and then for him to hit bad shots like that and get so frustrated, insanely relatable. I loved it. Obviously, he was embarrassed. He tweeted about it afterwards. I think he said like not like impossible for me to look less cool or whatever. So clearly feels embarrassed about it, but I loved it. I loved the ferocity of it. It was incredibly. It was up there with the like had to be as high a velocity on a club throw that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've definitely never gone that in on a club throw. I usually would do like a high, like, oh fuck, like a joking one. That was anger, but he's also in a way higher like pressure situation than I'll ever be on a golf course. So like I would assume that our club toss back to our bag and when we're pissed off is slightly less important than his when he's like in front of, his hometown, quote unquote. Now that he's in Scottsdale, like that's his hometown crowd. He fucking loves that. That's his. People love Max Homa at the Waste Management, so he probably takes it just a little bit more seriously than other people. And when you top one out of a bunker, you're going to get angry.
That was the club throw of a guy who's been getting clubs for free for a very long time.
It was aggressive.
It was, but it also shows that that's in all of these guys. Like Max is the most easygoing, relatable, whatever words you want to use. They've all got that in them. And it's not a negative. It's clearly a positive because it's what it takes to get to the top of an incredibly difficult sport. I remember Kiz had one of those club throws when we were filming a video with him. He was just trying to play well against us. I don't even know if the cameras caught it, but I remember it happening. And I was like, Kiz is how people view Max, where it's like super chill, like, I'll put the earpiece in and I'll play Torrey Pines. Like, but you peel back enough layers, those motherfuckers are very serious and they're very passionate. And again, I do think that's what it takes to get to that level. You can be the guy who throws in a lipper and drinks when you're playing with your buddies and the videos are hilarious. But at a certain point, those guys are fucking murderers and killers. And it's you have to be that way.
Yeah, it was aggressive. It was a very aggressive club throw. I loved it. I loved every second of it. And yeah, I hope we see more of that kind of stuff. It's real. It's raw. It happens. Part of the deal.
Shout out to Josh Isner. I don't know if you were already going to do that, but Saturday, the setup with Josh Isner is the guy that we obviously talk about a lot. I locked him out of his house. I locked myself out of his house at Pebble Beach. And he won't let me live that down every time I see him. But that Saturday at the Waste Management, man, holy shit. That Axon Center. And now I know why Lurch has like 5 different jobs and one of them's Axon. I mean, their setup at the Waste Management Open is out of control. You're talking people like Bryce Harper and Juan Soto were sitting behind us. Like, they're like, how did you guys get in there? We're like, we're fucking Axon people. Like, that's how we got in. Like, we're looking at them being like, we were first row on 16. So you're just at, and what I would say is an all-time sporting event to be at, and you're just at the best seat in the house. So did not take that for granted for 1 second. An amazing event.
You were sitting courtside at an NBA Finals game, basically.
And to be honest, like, I mean, yeah, like Devin Booker and Chris Paul were just like walked right in front of us, and we're just like, yeah, we are like courtside at NBA basketball game. So it was fucking nuts. And we sat next to Dave Portnoy. That was fun to watch him experience a golf event like that. He was loving the fact that there was a quiet sign guy on the tee box who had to try and quiet the crowd at this full stadium of people, and he's just like holding up, quiet please, and just everyone's like booing him like, fuck you, no chance. But it was fun, man. A lot of fun to watch that. And Mrs. Portnoy was there, Silvana. So like they enjoyed it. That's how you can tell. Like every age group, man, woman, child, they all fucking love that event. It's not boring. It's exciting. There's celebrities, good golf. The players are into it. The views are incredible. 100 out of 100, I would say, is my grade.
Yeah, we love the Phoenix Open. We're big fans.
We do.
For sure. I mean, Josh Isner's the man. He sets everybody up. He's just the most generous person in the world, but we're going to dust him in a couple weeks at the Dad Bod Classic. So I'm not going to be overly friendly to him until the end of that event. So good for him. That's
really the most generous guy I think I've ever met.
He makes me like cry. Like I want to cry thinking about how nice that guy is.
Bro, we went to fucking Dave Matthews Band.
He got us Dave Matthews fucking.
That was fucking unbelievable.
God, Dave Matthews is so good live. It's disgusting.
He was.
It's truly disgusting.
I was a little nervous about it. I was a little nervous about going to the concert just because I never quite know how to act at a concert. I'm not like, I don't know if I should just sway or dance or belt my little heart out and sing the lyrics to Crash Into Me. And we were going with a cool crew, an interesting crew, and I just didn't know what to do. I did a lot of swaying. That was my answer to everything. I did a little swaying, a little head nodding, little bit of singing. When Gray Street came on, the hips got a little bit loose. But other than that, I kept it pretty together.
We had a great crew that everyone was into it. Like, I mean, Lurch definitely brings the vibes of like bouncing around, and I'm always just like locked in on the drummer. So like I kind of get lost in all that. And obviously Carter Beauford is the greatest drummer like ever on any given night. He's unbelievable. He actually ended up meeting Dave Grohl at the end of the show, and I could have been back there for backstage passes, but Dave kept the backstage passes in his pocket by accident when he left. So that was a huge miss. I don't know if you saw any of that, Riggs. Dave had backstage passes in his pocket because Josh just like also gave that to Dave. I mean, he just has everything on him. I don't know how Josh has all this stuff, but he's like, yeah, you can go meet the band after. And Dave was like, I think I'm going to head out because I think they were going to Drake or something. So he goes out, and then we texted him like, do you still have the passes in your pocket? Because like Frankie would love to meet Dave Matthews. And then he's like, yeah, I gave them to a security guard, and they're going to put them back like in your guys' area, like the suite area. So then like 2 songs went by, the encore went by, we went back, and we're like, we have to go back to get these passes because like the meet and greet's at 11, it's 10:58. We go back, there's no passes. So the security guard must have just either like went to the wrong suite or gave them to somebody random or just held on to them and just kind of told Dave like, yeah, I'll do it, and just didn't. So I'm like, you know what, Josh, it doesn't matter, dude. Like, I don't need to meet Dave Matthews. Thank you for everything. This has been an amazing night. We're in the car on our way home, and I look on Instagram, and like I follow like a Dave Grohl fan page that like shows you where he is at all moments, and it's called like Disco Grohl for anyone that wants to follow it. And Disco Grohl put up Dave Matthews and Dave Grohl backstage at his concert post concert. And I looked at this picture, and I kind of just like, I honestly thought about opening up the door and just like rolling out of the car, because I couldn't believe that my guy was back there talking to like my top 2 drummers of all time. We're just like, there's a picture of them hugging. So it was tough.
That's absolutely devastating.
Josh said that I probably wouldn't have met Dave, which is a way that I'm able to sleep, because apparently he said he found out from someone. He knows everybody at Dave Matthews Band. That they kind of blocked off that area until Dave Grohl was done with the band. Then they all let the meet and greet come in.
That's what I was thinking. I almost texted that to you because you texted me at like 2 a.m. being like, Dave Grohl was backstage. And I thought about it like, no way is Dave Grohl just meeting the band with other people who are out there. Right.
Yeah.
No. He's fucking Dave Grohl. He's probably got his own little time with the band.
Yeah. I was able to sleep because of that, but still just knowing you're back there.
Yeah,
would have been cool.
All right, for the cut bet. So we got a Riviera, we got a big week, we got Genesis, Tiger, the whole deal. We got to keep our train rolling. Yeah, we didn't win last week, but we're still rolling. I mean, if you look at you're up $1 bazillion if you're betting with us on the For the Cut bet throughout the whole tenure thus far. So we got to keep this thing rolling on the Barstool Sportsbook. I've been red hot on the Barstool Sportsbook. I had the Chiefs last night as well.
Me too.
I saw Trent Daddy had that. Did you have that, Frankie?
Yep.
We all had that.
I had
let's
small
go.
wager on the Chief as well.
There we go.
4 for 4 right here on that. I had a big win at the Duke UNC game when I went to Cameron Indoor a couple weeks ago. So that was nice. And then obviously I had the huge hit with Jason Day. And then I had 3 out of 4 weeks leading up to that where I hit the For the Cut bet. So Barstool Sportsbook, it doesn't get any better than that. You can do live in-game bets. You can move the line in teasers. You can parlay and bet within same games or across different sports. Easy to navigate and use data and content to keep you informed. Easy and secure registration. More ways to deposit and withdraw. Download today. You can use the code Fore to create an account. $1,000 new player bonus. If your first bet loses, get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Shout out to Kirk, who took a bold decision with his $15,000 free play on the Barstool Sportsbook that he earned by winning the Barstool Mini Golf Tournament. And then he put it, Friday night on Xander Schauffele to win the tournament. And then he came out red hot and was leading the tournament the next day before fizzling. But it was like $15,000 to win $104,000 or something like that.
Now, would he have won the whole $104,000, or was Dave only giving him the $15,000?
I think he would have won it all.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I think it was a chance to win
that money for sure.
Really? I thought I originally read it as it's a chance to win $15,000. You have to just win your bet, and then you get that. You know what I mean? So it's like, and then Dave also made the money on top. I didn't know that he was going to be able to get the 104.
I mean, I could be wrong, but I think like when he's giving those out to Spider and all of them, when they win, they get the whole boat.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the way I took it. Because otherwise, you would just take something that'd be like way.
That's what I was thinking. Okay, because I was like, why would he pick something that's so outrageously impossible?
You just get more money.
Yeah,
I guess.
True.
Because I think he's trying to get all the money. I think he, so he could have went over $100,000. So
Wow.
a big bold choice by him. But anyways, we're back for the For the Cut bet.
So we
Riviera.
got a decision to make here.
Yeah. And who's going to be the guy?
Who's going to be the guy to do it?
Thinking it. I'll go first. I'll take Adam Scott. Not the guy you were thinking of.
No, not the guy I was thinking of.
3 top 7 finishes in his last 4 starts here. He won the tournament in 2020. Loves Riviera. Hasn't played since Hawaii. So people kind of forgotten about him. He goes off to Australia, does whatever he does. Who knows? He's back. He loves Riviera. Adam Scott's my pick. And now you guys can make the decision.
Okay, I'll make my pick. I'm going with Alex Noren.
Fuck.
Didn't do any research on why. I was scrolling the names in the field, which is, again, this is kind of the strategy every week for me at least. And I saw his name. I actually saw him last week. I saw him practicing. The swing looked good. The ball flight looked good. So I'm going to go with Alex Noren. Frankie, who are you going to go with?
I'm going to let Riggs make a decision first.
Wow, you are. That's interesting.
Someone's got to.
Okay, so my decision is not going to impact yours, I don't think, at all. I was in a position where I thought this would have been chosen already. I'm going to take a bold one that I think could cost us the entire For the Cut bet, but also could boost the odds dramatically. A guy who's a friend of the program who played in the final round of the Players' Championship with Justin Thomas a few years ago, has missed, let's see, 1, 2,
I think I know
3,
who you're talking
4,
about.
5 tournaments. He's missed the cut in 5 of his last 6 tournaments, and the other one was a WD. But he almost won the U.S. Amateur here, losing in the final round to Doc Redman, friend of the program. We're going to go with Doug Gim.
Fucking hell, man.
Doug Gim.
That's a good one. I like that a lot.
That's going to boost the odds for sure.
He's
Which
like
is good.
plus 50,000 to win the tournament. So
there's no chance he wins the tournament. There's 0% chance he wins the tournament. We don't even win the tournament.
Just saying he's
the odds.
When
the odds seem to be higher for us, we seem to perform well. So
Frankie,
so we got 3 guys so far. Riviera, big tournament. People really like this tournament, hosted by a pretty important guy. Do you have you got a name in mind, Frank?
Well, the Barstool Sportsbook's going to have to get to work right now because who knows what this price is going to be looking at, what this plus number is going to say, because I'm picking Tiger fucking Woods to make the cut at Riviera. He's back. If you don't think we were picking him, you have a big old fat dump in your pants.
Dude, imagine if we had put out before the cut graphic. That's a great pick. Imagine we put that out and Tiger Woods isn't on that graphic. That would have been insane. We have to pick him. I think
the showmanship was there. We left it for the end.
We did. We left it there. But Tiger Woods was always going to be.
I thought one of you were going to sneak in there and get it before me because it's just now everyone's going to be like, well, you're a fucking Tiger Woods dick sucker and you're going to ruin the bet.
Yes,
this guy, yes, I am. Yes, I am. Noted. And we are going to win this bet, okay? Tiger Woods is making the cut here. Yep. He's not just showing up to sign fucking hats and kiss babies. He's showing up to win. You don't think he's going to make it to Saturday? Fuck you. Fuck you. He's the best golfer of all time. You don't think I'm picking him to make the cut? He can make the cut in his fucking sleep.
We're going to get some good odds, too, because we got Woods, who hasn't played a PGA Tour event in 2 years, over 2 years.
And we got Doug Gim, who keeps missing cuts like it's his job.
He hasn't made a cut since like before the pandemic, and so we've got 2 of them on the list. I like it. I like it a lot.
Dude, I love it. I think
this is going to be a big one.
Imagine the hype there's going to be when we all bet it and everyone. I tell you what, when we're in public, especially when we were out at the Waste Management, they couldn't get to us fast enough to talk about the For the Cut bet. They love it. So there's going to be a lot of people betting it. We're obviously going to bet it. And then the juice there's going to be when Tiger Woods makes the cut. Think about how good that's going to feel. And we're all going to make money. And Tiger's going to be playing on Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be fucking awesome.
It gives us that like consolation celebration where it's like he might not win the tournament, but we get to celebrate like Friday of a Tiger Woods. Like we get to watch meaningful golf from Tiger Woods in our world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even if he's fucking 7 back, we're like, he's grinding to get on this fucking line.
Dude, the over under for his first round is 73.5, which is 2.5 over par. It's not a lot of that's pretty disrespectful.
No,
one's seen him hit a shot like without a golf cart, like 7 years.
Guys
years.
forgotten greater moments of golf than we could ever conceive of. That's an under for sure.
Mm-hmm.
To keep the optimism and the positivity going, now that Frankie took a 1 Woods to make the cut, our boy Alistair Doherty with a top 20 finish this last
Very
week
nice.
in
Big
Colombia.
big time.
Well
Yep.
done.
He vaults up to 56th in the points list through 4 events. He finishes top 30 in the points list. He gets his PGA Tour card. First event of the year, he finished tied for 31st. Then he went miscut. Then he finished tied for 19th, which is their last week playing for like 4 or 5 weeks. So he just got back to Arizona. What a great way to go into this little early break of the season. So shout out to Alistair. He's registered a little over $17,000 thus far on the Korn Ferry Tour. It's very early in the year. He's halfway through his first 8 guaranteed starts. But this was a big week. Obviously, T31 the first week. Yeah, he started that with an eagle. He thought he could have posted even better, tough conditions. Then you go MC, and you're thinking, oh no, to rebound with a top 20, finish in 19th. Fantastic stuff from Alistair and our boy Sam. So congrats to them. Hopefully they keep this train rolling when they get back in March, back out on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Congratulations.
I think that's all I got. Oh, you want to talk about these fucking UFOs that are all over the place in North America now?
We're being attacked by aliens, but at the end of the day, like we just can't believe it until we see it. It's one of those situations where it's like everyone has to just say, no, it's not, until we see the beams coming down in New York City and we're getting zapped up into a fucking UFO, because they're never going to tell us. And I have too much going on in my life that, like, I know I like to get into all this stuff, and I have a lot of things come across my desk, and I like to tell you guys that, like, I have a lot of fears about the outer space and after death and all this stuff. The fact that we're seeing these things happening and they're just not telling us the truth makes me so, it's like, it's so meaningless to even get worked up in it, because they're never going to tell us what it is. You know what I mean? They're already saying, like, now we can't get to the debris. It's like, whatever, man. You're never going to tell me anyway. And like, why should I wait up at night waiting for these fucking tweets from like these inside sources on Twitter? I'm typing in alien UFO every 5 seconds as if I'm going to find something. You know what I mean? That's where I'm getting so frustrated. As if I'm going to find a tweet that's like, actually, dude, I saw this fucking alien walking across highway like 95 and like, it's here. Like, I'm not finding shit. And like, I don't know, man.
I wouldn't say I got duped, but I got mini duped yesterday. I was trying to catch up on this stuff. Super Bowl's going on, the whole deal. And I typed in like UFO or whatever, because I hadn't really been up to date. And like one of the first video replies a ways down was like actual footage of the alien like wreckage. And it was like, they drove by and it was like a stormtrooper from Star Wars from one of the video games. Like, that looked really realistic, standing next to like an engine from a UFO that had fallen out or something. And I laughed pretty good at that. But yeah, I mean, we're shooting down, unknown, unidentified flying objects. The guy from the Air Force, it was a general or somebody that quotes going around where they asked him like, are you ruling out aliens? And he was like, I'm not ruling out anything at this point. Yeah. So that one's making the rounds. But yeah, I think they shot
octagon shaped ships that are, they don't understand how they're flying. They see no propellant thing. My mic, propulsion, signs of propulsion. They can't figure out how this thing is staying up and going down. Now, what's more scary to you guys, that these are aliens, or that China has technology that like our Air Force is looking at it being like, how the fuck are those things flying, and like, what are they? You know what I mean? Because like, it's either aliens or it's not. And if it's not, that's something man-made that is causing the world to be like, what is this?
I think that's what you got to be more afraid of. Yeah.
China's scarier.
Like, that makes sense, right? Like, it's somebody, it's something. It's not nothing. So it's someone made this thing that's impossible. I feel like in the back of some people's heads, they're like, oh, it's not aliens. Like, that's fine. Like, well, then if it's not, what is it then? Because
it's the magician conversation all over again.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
It's either he's doing magic or he needs to be jailed because he's manipulating our minds.
Right, or they have the same exact.
Why don't they tell us what it is?
No.
They don't know.
I
don't think they know.
And like, is it like some like whatever, like some regular citizen in China or somewhere from that world that's like sending these things over, and like China's government has no idea? Maybe, I don't know the answers, but like that person has technology that our Air Force doesn't even know how to fucking track. They can't even track these things.
Here's my stance on it, is that when the aliens show up, they're not going to show up like clumsily, right? Like they're not
right, but like
they're
we
not
don't
coming
know
over here with like their accidental octagon thing got shot down or no, they're not. If they're coming over here, it's like they got their ducks in a row, baby. They made it to Earth. They made it to a different planet with their own things that fly
maybe
around.
they've
They're
been
not
here all
coming
the
in
time.
like half-assed. They're not coming in a little like, oh, we kind of discovered them and shot them out of the sky. Yeah, right. That's not the way that they're going to come in.
They could have always been here, and they were in the ice caps in Antarctica, and now they're fucking melting, and now they're starting to fly out of their little fucking
Well, then they're
zones
idiots.
that they were
If they were like
frozen
they
in.
got stuck in the ice caps for tens of thousands of years. What a bunch of fucking idiots.
I'd also say the quote that's going around from the Air Force guy or wherever he's from about like I'm not going to comment on any of this. Probably in context or with protocols, that's a pretty standard response. But when you put it on Twitter, it's like, oh, well, then it's aliens. But if you're asking a guy from the U.S. military to speculate on a situation, he's not going to give you like, well, it's aliens or that it's not aliens. He's going to wait for all the facts to come in. That's the thing. Like when you're dealing with a guy like that, you're dealing with a guy who has got people he has to answer to, and protocols are in place to deal with the public when something like this happens. It's not a guy on Twitter who can just say whatever he wants and be like, oh, I don't know what it is. It could be anything. So that quote is less bombastic to me than it's being portrayed, but it is still interesting that they don't know what it is or they're not telling us or whatever it may be. It's certainly a very odd situation.
Way more scary if it's a person. I'll agree with you guys on that. Way more scary. Second of all, what if they've always just been doing this? If it is aliens, what if they've always just been sending these little things just to monitor us, to kind of do GPS like awareness, kind of fly around, see if they can go undetected, and we're just in the point of our evolution as a human species that we've been able to just start to like see these things, right? Like I feel like in the world, in the length of the universe in our world, there's probably only been like a 20-year window that we can even see these things. Like F-22s are flying around now. We have our own GPS systems that we're flying in, satellites, all this stuff. But like 1955, we weren't fucking looking up in the sky, seeing all these. Like we barely had enough technology to see on the ground. You think we could see aliens?
Well,
now we're in like a really small pocket where it's like, holy shit, what's this little blip on a radar on top of fucking Antarctica or on top of Alaska? Like that's only been. We've only been allowed to do that for a couple of years if you think about the history of humanity.
And
so
also the argument of
that's a little scary that they may have been doing this forever.
The argument against like people now witnessing a UFO in the sky is there was a long time before everyone was holding a camera. Now everyone's holding a camera. So the argument was like, if these things are
Neil
actually
deGrasse
happening,
Tyson says that. He gets very mad at that. He's like, we have
Because
7
he's right.
billion people on the planet, and you're telling me every single time we see a UFO and it's an alien, it's on some grainy Nokia phone that like no one can see, and like it's always like, oh, what is it? It's like we have technology to see these things.
right. He gets angry because it's a rational thought that no one will listen to because everyone holds a camera in there, literally a high def camera. And if all these things were happening as many times as people say they are, then a certain percentage of people would have seen them and videoed them on their phone.
But now we're shooting them down because now
That's
things are
different,
happening.
right.
Now we're actually saying that they are there, whether it's human made or alien made, and now we're shooting them down because they're posing a threat to the ground because they have things falling off of them and they were carrying something on a little string. I don't know what's going on. I don't like it. I'll tell you that.
I don't like it either. I felt better when this wasn't going on.
Yes, that's facts.
All right. Long show. We got big thanks to Nick Taylor joining the show for the cut bet. We got Adam Scott. We got Noren, Doug Gim, Tiger Woods, Alex Noren. Trent liked his ball flight on the range, so we're in good shape.
That was the best. You saw his
Swing
ball
looked good.
flight. You liked his ball
He
flight.
said swing looked good, as though you were going to say that swing looked bad.
I fucking love it. So
Have you ever seen a PGA
that's
Tour
it.
player with bad ball flight? Like, oh, that guy's ball flight's off.
God, that ball flight's brutal.
That's a
over there
joke.
on that. Don't pick him to make the cut. All right. So go check out For the Cut Bet. That thing will be boosted under exclusives. Bet with Foreplay on the Barstool Sportsbook app. Big thanks to our sponsors. Check out the Netflix show. Chevy EV. Go to the Barstool Sportsbook. We'll be back on Thursday. Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.
Hit it hard.